All right, we will call to order the City of Ojai Parks and Rec Commission meeting for Thursday, January 5th, 2017. We rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Murphy, will you lead us? Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, can we have a roll call?
Commissioner Gilbert,
Here.
Commissioner Wilson,
Here.
Commissioner Dutter,
Here.
Chair Dutter,
Here.
Commissioner Firestone,
Here.
Commissioner Murphy.
Present.
And absent this evening is, I'll remind myself, turn my mic on. Absent this evening is Commissioner Intner.
Yes. No public comments, it looks like, and no presentations. And Officer Ferguson, I believe
Ferguson.
is not present.
Yeah, I think he might have been reassigned. I can't think of he's.
Right.
There's a new sergeant.
I think you're right.
town.
There is, yes. I think that's what they said.
There's a new sheriff in town.
Yeah, there's a new sheriff in town.
There is.
And name.
But his name eludes me right now. But
No worries. All right, Public Works report, we can wait until
we
Mr.
can
Grant
come
gets
back
here.
to that. Mr. Grant will be
Perfect.
here tonight.
Moving through.
Yes.
Approval of minutes. We obviously have 4 months there to catch up on. Did everybody get a chance to read them and go through them? Were there any corrections, concerns?
I have one for October. Under Commissioner Simons, I didn't volunteer for Complete Streets. I volunteered for the naming committee.
Okay. Let me get to October. There's so many here. Okay, October. So, say that again.
Under Commissioner Simons,
Okay.
it says I volunteered for Complete Streets when I actually volunteered for the naming committee.
That is correct.
Oh, because I have Wilson on Complete Streets. Where is it? On what page? On what page?
It's 2/3 of the way down on,
Page 3 out of 7.
Okay.
it says Youth Commissioner Gilbert volunteered for Complete Streets.
I'm sorry. What?
October.
Which paragraph?
Page 3.
Right. I'm on page 3. Which paragraph?
Right down here. Right here.
Oh, right, all by itself. Okay, we'll just delete that. Who was it was Commissioner Wilson. Okay,
And I believe Commissioner Firestone agreed to try to go when he could, correct?
Yes.
Is that in October?
That's probably right, yeah.
So,
should you be added to Complete Streets then?
I just said that I'd fill in at meetings if needed.
Because I
Okay,
had also volunteered for the complete streets and the naming. Right above that.
okay. So I guess we could say would volunteer
yes,
as needed?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would put Commissioner Firestone's name on there at least as well.
okay.
Any other corrections, questions, concerns? From over the 4
Question.
months? Yes.
How do we, since this is the first time I've actually been involved in the separate groups, do they reach out to us? How do I find out when the meetings are for the various subcommittees?
We can let you know, or Soph
Okay.
can definitely let you know as
Okay.
well.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's on us to reach out to, or
Okay.
to make a point of the meeting times and whatnot.
Yeah, particularly for, the naming committee, that would be staff, namely Allison.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
Complete Streets, I think, is the first Wednesday of the month also, like midday around.
Yeah, I think it was yesterday,
And
like
those
2
are,
o'clock.
if anything in midday I can't do,
Mhm.
because I work, so that's the tricky part.
That's the one that's tough to get to, but
Yeah.
so, I think that's
Thank
why we
you
threw
for-
it out in October.
There was part of a meeting that I caught on the local broadcast
Yeah.
channel, which I think it was just the pardon me. It was just a meeting that was online that I watched parts of, and they're
Right.
mentioning complete streets. So
Okay.
I think those are.
But yeah, I
on
think it's
YouTube. You can
it's the first Wednesday of every month at 2:00, I believe,
A
here.
weird time to.
So, yeah, it's tough. I know
Must
for a
not want
lot of
anybody
people.
on that
I know,
meeting.
exactly, yeah. It's a tough time, but, any other corrections to any of the minutes for those 4 months? No?
I just wanted to say that I thought the minutes looked really good. So
Oh,
Yeah.
the
great.
new minute maker.
Our new minute maker is one of our in-house staff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought they
Sherry.
looked really good as well. I mean,
Easy to follow.
easy to follow, and the detail there was a lot of detail there, which was nice to see. So,
Well, I'll be sure to pass that on to her.
and yeah, definitely. Okay, so no other corrections. Do we have a motion to approve? Can we approve all 4? Or do we need to approve individual? No?
I don't know for sure.
Okay.
Why don't we just do them individually? Well, I don't think it matters.
I don't think it matters.
Why don't we just make a motion that all the
Two.
minutes
Yeah.
from August through November are accepted as written?
I'll second that.
Oh,
That was your motion.
Yeah.
Second it.
I second.
Okay, motion passes.
Roll call, all in favor?
Aye.
Right.
No nays? Passes. Perfect. Piece of cake.
Yes.
Mr. Grant has joined us. Thank you, sir. So we'll jump back up to the Public Works report. We were blowing through the first 5, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you guys really.
We did, yeah,
Yeah.
we're moving along
Yeah.
pretty well, yeah.
Is there a game on tonight?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So yeah, Sarasota picnic area structures.
Yeah, okay. And I guess that's under Public Works report, right? Okay. And I guess as general status, I was out there today and, they've got everything roofed. For the 2 small structures, they're completely done. The larger structure, they had a delay, the undersided wood, there's tongue and groove wood on the underside. It's a 2-inch thick, 2x6 tongue and groove wood of cedar. And they had an issue in the first loads came in, there was some wrong colors and it took quite a while to get it, so it was a delay. And we, even the ones that came in, they don't match that great, but I shouldn't even say it, I don't think you'd even notice it if you weren't paying attention. So it took a while to get that all straightened out, and now the wood's in, and they've got the felt paper over, and they've got the trim in. They're actually thinking they could finish in another 2 days, but we keep getting the rain. And I think next week's lined up pretty good too. So but at least it's protected, all the wood's protected with the felt paper and so on, all shingled in. So they're extremely close to having that metal roofing done. And then all of the sidewalks are complete, as well as the concrete floor underneath everything. So all that is done. Trying to think of, there's an arrangement for a special graffiti coating that's going to be put on by a local contractor, California Custom Painting. And that was a special order from, there was some tricks. I think the one that was spec'd wasn't the best quality, so we ended up paying for better quality graffiti coating. It's a clear coating that will go on that cedar underneath on the roof. So that's still, they don't want it to be too moist in the air. So it's supposed to go in next week, and I think the way next week looks, it could be another week delay or so. But in rougher terms, I think we're about a few weeks out to be open. I know there were some questions from Parks and Rec. Somebody wanted to
Rent
it in February, right? So we think we're fine there. The only question that might be outstanding is all that grading that we did around those sidewalks, whether or not we have the grass fully set up. I mean, worst case, we'll have some tape around to keep people off of the grass and so on. So, and then the other part was we ordered barbecues. We landed up, we were going to rehab the existing barbecues we had out there. And that was getting pretty expensive just to rehab them. And we turned out a company in California that manufactures them just about the same price that we could rehab them from the quotes we had. So we've got some really nice new barbecues. They'll be 2 foot wide by 6 foot long for the bigger shelter. And he split some 60-40, this particular person. So it'll be kind of, you can raise the rack separately on that 2 by 6 foot long.
And there'll be the enclosed ones like we talked about?
An enclosure, and then also stainless steel racks on them.
Oh,
which is
nice.
Pretty nice. So everything's
Yeah.
kind of standard steel, except for the racks will be stainless. And then there are 2 by 3 foot for each one of the small shelters. And I think that came up, I think we discussed before about just doing a block with a stucco finish to match the restrooms. But the crew was talking, it'd be nice to take some of the stone from the local quarry, and they make a facing stone, you know?
Mhm.
And that would look pretty sharp, so that might be a nice alternative for us. You know, we're looking, I think, kind of when you walk in the side of these barbecues, you know, having a foot or so on the front side, people say they kind of like that, put, you know, the meat out and so on.
Mhm.
And then a table to one side, you know, have it extend 3 or 4 feet. Forget if we talked about that. So anyways, I guess before we talk about stucco, so I guess I was looking for some general input. If we can do it at a reasonable price, is everybody open to do the local quarry facing?
So it'd be like a stone, like veneer kind of, like,
It'd either be real stone if we can get it without taking up too much width,
Yeah.
or they do make a veneer which looks the same, but somehow it just doesn't seem like it's real, but we could use
Right.
veneer, you know,
Okay,
if we
but
have
yeah.
to. But it is the real rock from the quarry up there.
Longevity-wise, no real difference between either or?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I know that sometimes you see that veneer river rock that's fake, that looks fake to me. I don't
Yeah.
like the looks of that, but it's kind of nice to do the real, that's really real quarry rock from the local quarry sandstone, and they trim it
Mhm.
so it faces on nicely.
would it look like similar to the benches we put in the Libby's? Like that color?
That's true. Okay, that's, the quarry donated those
Right.
benches out there.
Would it be something similar to that color?
It's exact color. I think it varies a little bit in the quarry, but it'd be
close.
that type of stone, and then it'd be much smaller.
Okay.
It'd be kind of, I don't know if there's options on that, but generally you kind of get a 6 to
Right.
10 inch type
Okay.
rock, yeah. So it sounds like a nice idea, and I didn't think anybody'd be opposed, but I thought it'd be good to check in with the Parks and Rec Commission.
Just going to ask about durability and any concerns about graffiti. Like,
Right. If it was graffiti, at least the pressure washer would probably cut it. And we haven't had graffiti in those areas, you know?
Yeah.
And
We've been real fortunate. It seems several months, many months, since any tagging has gone on at that park. So
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe our PD could take credit for that, or for whatever reason, we just have not had any there. But that doesn't take away from the fact that if we do have it, how easy would it be to take off?
right.
Generally, it's
But if
not
it's
a
a
barbecue
sandstone, it
pit
should
that
be pretty
gets-
easy.
Not to announce that.
I think
It's
sandstone's softer, and we can cut through it.
Right, especially with the pressure washer.
clear walls.
We just went through a lot on the graffiti coating. We learned a lot about graffiti coatings. They tend to rate it by how many years it's good for, which really means how many times you hit it with the cutter or heavy-duty pressure washing. And it's, so the one we're going with is this heavy-duty material, 20-year. But it basically means you can really cut it hard with these acetone-type cleaners, and it'll handle kind of 20 repeat uses or more, the heavy-duty one.
So we'd put the graffiti coating on the sandstone as well?
Well, I was going to say, if we had a problem, we could look in that
We
direction.
could.
In fact, they're making it now a surprise, because usually that stuff is all glossy finish and doesn't necessarily, it looks kind of
Yeah.
weird too. But now they're making a matte finish even on that, so it doesn't stand out as much. Like if you are at Libby, the upper tennis courts, some of that rock was faced before I got here, because they might have had issues with graffiti.
Yeah.
And that looks a little strange, because some of it has been sunned, and it looks faded against the glossy one that still looks
Right.
good, and you really notice the difference. I think if it was matte against deteriorated, you wouldn't notice the difference.
I do like it from a durability standpoint, because we did have the stucco on that picnic area that was closest to the restroom, and there was a
Right.
decent amount of cracking.
Mhm.
And you can just punch little holes in it, and that's a little tougher to repair.
Are they donating the quarry rock, or is it an additional expense? Are we saving it elsewhere, or?
No, I think we'll have to just take a look at, our crew is considering building a barbecue.
Okay.
So we're buying the kit, and the kit is the one we're buying independently.
Right.
It'll drop in, and then our crew will go ahead and probably build it mostly with block and fire brick in the interior, and then face it out with this quarry rock.
Okay.
So if everybody is good with that,
Does anybody have any objections to it?
and I'd appreciate that flexibility. If it turns out the cost gets higher, there's an issue with the quarry and so on.
Yeah, that would be my only concern, is the cost factor, but
Right,
I mean, it sounds like it'll look really nice.
yeah. we might even, instead of facing it, build it with the rock, and I think we can do that as well.
And we'd also talked about the firewall on the inside,
Right.
and that'll all be done correctly.
Yeah, I don't know, I don't think, I'm not sure if the
We're not sure if one of
previous.
them was or not.
Yeah, yeah,
It looked like it just had brick, like just
Looked like a cinder
regular
block,
brick.
kind of a
Yeah.
brick,
Yeah.
Block.
We'll be sure to use a fire brick, and there's a fire mortar as well
Okay.
that goes in between it.
Yeah.
So if you're good with that, okay?
Yeah,
Well,
sounds great.
I think that was, and then I was
Then
going
there
to
were-
pass.
Then there were signs, Greg, the
Sorry, pass everybody one, appreciate it.
shelter signs. I don't know if we
Right,
want to talk about that, what we plan on having them say, or is that what you're passing around now?
yeah, I think what I'm passing around now, I think is there a back side to that? I think I tried to print two-side, and maybe it didn't work out, all right. What I was trying to pass out was two things. One is the Ojai Civic Association generously donated a good portion, half the cost of that first shelter, so the bigger shelter. So I think hopefully, we were going to do a small pedestal, but there's a little concern about that being a trip hazard and so on. So this one's a bit higher. It's a 2-foot diameter cardboard form.
How tall
you
is
know.
it?
It's about 2+, 2.5, something like that off the ground.
Okay.
So this is not the best perspective shot, it's kind of close up. So,
Okay.
but it does show the wording that way. You can see it said, the Ojai Civic Association provided a generous donation, making this shaded picnic area possible. Thank you, October 2016, which is when the sign was ordered. So
Right.
we're a little behind that schedule. But, so anyways, that kind of shows you what that looks like.
And Greg, just to verify what we had discussed, that will go in the bigger shelter, the big shelter area, the larger.
Yes.
The 30 by 60 shelter area,
It's-
like more in the center of it, more
Right.
like where the center beam.
Right, there's 3 columns on each side, and it's on the center column in the middle.
Looks good. Is it on, yeah. Is it on the park side?
Yes.
Okay.
So when you walk from the park side towards it, you'll see it. It's very prominent.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then if you look underneath there, I think what I did was, here's what I was suggesting, talking with Sophocles about the old wood signs we have out there, is putting up new high-density polyethylene, the plastic signs that would say City of Ojai, Sarzati Picnic Area blank, number blank, and for reservations, what number to phone call.
The ones that match all the new ones we're putting in?
Right.
Yeah.
We'd put
The
one.
brown and white ones, kind of?
Exactly, right.
The ones that are on the trail and then at Sarasota as well?
Pretty consistent about it, yeah. Kind of thinking of making this one a bit more square, and some of those signs we had kind of a little fancy.
Similar
border.
look, at least, so
Yeah, it'd be
we're not going to put in like a pink sign or something, right?
yeah, right, exactly. I mean, the sign out in front of Sarzati that says the Sarzati's park,
Martin.
it's that brown background,
Yeah, yeah.
white. It's routed in white, so it's really easy for us to pressure wash if it ever
Yeah,
did
looks good
hit.
too.
Yeah. So we do 4x4 posts on each side and put one in front of each shelter. I guess I'd work out the locations with Sophocles.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah, right.
Preferably to the right or left of it, or in front of it, I don't know, we'll have to look at it.
Hopefully where you could see it. Be
Well, you can see it.
prominent. Right, so I think as far as, the shade structures, I think that's the information. I guess our trick will be to get some good grass vegetation out there so we can access it. But depending on the rainy season, how quickly that occurs, we'll make sure it's in. It's all rice seeded right now, and that'll kick in quickly. It's already coming in. But whether we can pull the tape or not over the next couple of months depends on the weather.
Mhm.
I guess we want rain. We don't want to deter the rain just for our shelter, right?
Just for the picnic, yes.
These posts here with the sign, are they in a spot where people can, and you said they're about 2.5 feet high?
Yes.
There's only one of them.
There's only one. Is it in a location where somebody can trip, fall, run into it?
And it's not obvious here, and so I don't have a better shot, but if you can imagine, the shelters are about 50-plus feet long.
Yeah.
And there's a post on each end and one in the middle. So it's right in front of that middle post.
Okay.
It was going to be a smaller pedestal, and we were concerned with that being a trip. This brings it up more prominently, so it's not really a trip hazard. Rounded edges and so on.
Okay.
So I think we've located it well.
Thank you.
Might be more of something someone might play on rather than trip over.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that was I think, as far as the picnic shade structure, any other questions or anything on that? Yeah.
No, I like it.
Yeah, I
Anybody
think
else
it's-
have any questions?
If you've been out there, it looks terrific.
It does
I-
look really
Yeah,
good.
Driven by a couple times, that's amazing.
Great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really looks nice.
I think I think somebody criticized that maybe they're too fancy, but they really aren't that fancy. They're really a standard design, and we had one option that we pushed for was the cedar tongue and groove underside, which instead of a metal finish to the underside.
Looks good.
Yeah.
I think it looks a lot
So if you
better.
got a Soul Park, they used wood on the underside too. A lot of it's old and stained or had weird colors on it and things. So I think this is going to look sharp with that clear finish,
Yeah.
graffiti finish, which will hold up well, you know.
Mhm. Great. Anybody else have any questions or comments about the picnic structures?
No.
If you don't mind, I was hoping to mention a couple other public works items.
Go for it.
Okay, and then,
Real quick, if you guys haven't been out to see the place or the picnic structures, though, swing by and check them out. They look really good.
Mm.
And it's, I mean, it's gonna change that whole top area of the park too. I mean, it looks great.
and it's all formulated in our, right, isn't it? Yeah, it's in
Exactly.
the master plan.
It's all in the
Yeah, yeah.
master
So,
plan.
Okay, it's all part of the master plan. It's all
Exactly.
coming together.
And for some reason, it didn't add much turf space, but it seems like it to me. Especially once the bigger barbecue goes out, that other barbecue that's still there, the old one.
Right.
It just
Open
seems
up
like
a
there's
lot.
more turf space to me.
The flow seems a lot
Flow.
better of that whole area now, so.
And today, that old barbecue, we left the bigger barbecue out until we get the new barbecues in. And it was being
Okay.
used today. There's some whole gang of fellows out there using it. So.
Good stuff.
Yes, I saw that.
We did have a couple of new picnic tables have knife marks in them and people putting cigarette butts on it. And I even talked to that crowd today saying, I really appreciate if you could respect these facilities and we can all try to keep an eye on it and do the best we can.
On the newest tables you guys brought
Hmm.
up?
Yeah, it's like, it almost looks intentional. I don't think anybody's cutting meat. There's somebody,
Carving.
yeah, just vandalizing it a bit, yeah. But those are really tough plastic lumbers, so they hold up well, yeah, especially compared to the old plastic tables there. So the other part I wanted to mention was, I know the CrossFit group, when we've been out there more, they were hitting us up for some improvements, and that should be shown, the picture, the backside of the Boyd in the gym area.
The black dotted line.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's so heavily used, and I think they're even adding another CrossFit class. Probably Softly knows better, but they've got heavy use, and it's just rutted in. They actually, you can't see it very well, but that's not a vault there. Those are rubber mats that they're putting out.
Right.
So what we're proposing, what they're requesting, it seems like a good idea, is to extend the concrete pad over towards where Sophocles and Ruben are pointing at the wall about something there. And to extend it over, and that one line would be the extended line of the fence. And then next to it would be a extension of the sidewalk. So you could walk directly out between the buildings over a sidewalk, and then it would be, I think it would increase the size of that CrossFit area about roughly 50%.
And the tricky part there, which maybe we didn't completely talk about, is the shading over, we did talk about the shading over the existing area, but then if we extend the pad, then are we gonna extend shade? It's just gonna get,
Right.
or are we just gonna just kind of keep that as an open space and just have the shaded area where,
I think we'll work that out and see what
Right,
kind of
that
cost the
exists.
shade is and how much support it needs. I know we have some old poles down in the yard, the Public Works yard, that are like a 4-inch diameter steel pole, and I think those will support it fine.
Has that program soft been growing so much that the extra space is warranted?
yeah, it stayed pretty consistent. It's always done well. It averages about 25 participants.
That's a good number.
Yeah, it's on a monthly registration, and even our senior fitness group, that number is inching up to that level of about between 20 and 25 participants. So, just be nice to have more outdoor.
So if I thought they mentioned this morning they're adding a CrossFit class in the morning, or they're requesting it or
Yeah,
something.
they added another time.
Oh.
They already have probably 4.
Oh, it's the same core group of people, it's
the
just
same-
more time. I
Well,
see.
there's another group, I guess the Inn is closing down their small fitness group, and there's some interest from some of those employees at the Inn to get into some fitness group.
Mhm.
So I know Tyson, the contractor, has been in discussion with them, and so he's always trying to bring in more participants, and obviously the bigger the space, the better. I mean, almost if you build it, they will come kind of thing. We're hoping that
Is the area that's chewed up in the front of the concrete area, is that because of usage by the?
yeah, it is. It's
Okay.
just the participants overflowing into that front area. It's because, you know, figure if, I mean, all 25 don't show up at the same workout time, there's a total of 25, but even you get 12, 15 people all working out and trying to fit in that
Yeah.
enclosure, it just doesn't work. So half the group is inside and half the group is outside.
Well, does that create a problem with it turning basically into mud? You know, I mean, or is that not a big deal?
It can't, it's so compacted right now, the water
Okay.
just slides right off of it.
It's like concrete.
It is really
Right
hard.
now.
It is really hard. So if the pad was extended, obviously there'd be less people on that out front or on.
Well, that was kind of my question. If we were to extend it to the right, why not just extend it out a little bit as well and gain, if that room is needed?
Well, let me address that, Commissioner Murphy, is that if that other line would be the sidewalk, and we're working with Tyson from the CrossFit and suggesting another gate there. So in any wet period, they would come out and always access it that way, because they seem to come and go from this area into the gym and over to the, pulling the equipment out of the shed over there. So it would remove the traffic off the front side. They would still have a gate over there, so they might use it a little bit. I think there's some activity out in the lawn and so on too.
Yeah.
But it would kind of get rid of that loop around it. It would keep it on the paved area.
Okay,
So
great. Thank you.
you could extend it out more, and we were kind of saying, how far do you go? Because, it's an option. There's that little pad extension right in front of the gate they have.
And as the need arises, if that tends to get bigger and bigger and bigger, it can always be increased.
Yeah, another
somewhere, I
pad's
would
not a
think,
big
right?
deal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can
okay.
probably add. Yeah, and there was some irrigation concerns too. Why that is actually those lines where we're adding, because just about where we're standing, there's an irrigation,
Sprinkler head or?
yes, well, the actual units there,
The vaults, yeah,
thank you.
right.
Oh,
Right. So-
I don't know what the-
So what we can move those. It's not too big of an issue.
Okay.
Yeah. I did want to make sure I took a look at the master plan, and behind the gym, the master plan does show a hitting wall basketball, and that, it appears to be just missing the CrossFit. It's a little hard to tell. This is kind of a conceptual plan, but I don't know when that is scheduled or thought of to go in, the hitting wall and basketball court. If that's kind of near-term or short-term, I just brought a couple copies, and we could pass it around, and I'll circle the rough location. You can see the existing Boyd Center, and then I'll just pass that around.
That, I'm not sure what version that is, Greg, because that hitting wall, we named basketball court, that's butted up
Right.
to the gymnasium, that outdoor court, we removed that. The
Correct.
hitting wall, we decided there could be one there, but we wouldn't necessarily need to concrete it
I don't know if you want to pass it.
beyond the hitting wall.
Correct, yeah, the hitting wall didn't make the final plans.
Is that right? Okay, it was the one on the
but-
website, so I'm thinking it was.
Is it?
Yeah,
Oh, you took that right off of our website? Oh, well, if it still has the basketball court on there especially, then it
Yeah.
definitely needs, does it still have it on?
it does, it's
Okay.
an old one,
Then
but
we need to
nonetheless.
update.
So the one right in the backside is,
We need to update our website because the basketball court that was supposed to go on the back wall of the gym is no longer.
Yeah, this one's from, this is the February 1st revision, so it's outdated.
Yeah, it's our,
do you see where I circled there? You can see the Boyd Gym is
Yeah.
outlined with the dash line.
Nonetheless, if we did add it, sorry guys, I'm just gonna hoard both of them from you. Nonetheless, if we did add that extra concrete that you're talking about for the CrossFit, it's not, it's gonna have to come out when we do the huge gym expansion, if,
Right. Hopefully in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So that's-
so, quite a ways down the road, so.
it seems like the investment in pad is not that severe that
Well, and
you'd
we,
be too concerned.
correct me if I'm wrong, I don't have the CIP in front of me, but I'm pretty sure that's on there, isn't it? Doesn't it call for and expanded?
I've got the CIP with me, and I was hoping to briefly distribute that just to try to get that wheel rolling. I know you had a lot of concern about getting into CIP earlier,
Yeah,
as early as possible.
I thought the CrossFit area was on there, or was it just the shade for the
It was
CrossFit?
just the shade.
Okay.
I don't think it called for an extension
expansion?
on there,
No.
although,
No, it didn't.
Okay,
although we're considering it, or it might happen before the shade.
And the, have you gone over this proposal with the CrossFit crew? Does it seem like it's
Yes. I mean, really, they requested it when we were out there, and
But that's
based
enough
on the mud and the
space.
mats out there, it made a lot of sense.
that's enough space? Or,
Yes.
okay.
Mhm.
It's not like we're going to do this and they're going to say, well, we still need more space.
They might say that, but I mean, this is what they requested,
Okay.
so, and
Yeah. I mean, it seems like the right place for it. It's not used for anything else, and if it'd be more useful for them, it seems
Mhm.
like they're pretty active.
Yeah.
it's roughly a 50% increase in the area they have.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
I like it. Does
Yeah.
anybody else have any concerns about it, or? I think one of the healthier programs too, I mean,
Right.
so.
Okay. All right, so I'll proceed with that. And then, I guess we went over the signs, we agreed on that. Just as a minor item, the access over near the new restroom into this area, you know how there's a sidewalk that goes in, and it's a round circle, and the sidewalk now diverts off to each shelter. And that one, I know Sophocles has mentioned there's been an issue with some people pulling in with trucks, pickup trucks and so on. It's pretty tight, it's about 6 foot, but I guess that's just enough room to squeak through with certain vehicles. So we were just talking about putting a couple boulders at the fence on each side just to pinch that area a little bit. We were going to put a boulder in the middle, but it's an ADA issue, and
Okay.
so we're just going to put a couple boulders just so you're not surprised with that. And then the parking lot will happen later. After everything dries out in the early summer, we'll be doing the parking lot refinish as well.
Right.
And to jump to Libby, there is someone who's contacted me about the new Libby playground. We had a potential music feature that was considered for that.
Yes.
And there's a donor that's considering that right now. So they're just very initial, so just giving you a heads up. There's some discussion about it, and they may be approaching us formally soon.
Okay, and that'll come to Parks first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Parks and Art. I think it's related to the,
Parks and Art.
yeah, it's not really funded through the Arts Commission, so I think it would be appropriate to do Parks
That'd be
first.
great.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do remember we talked about that.
Mhm.
Sorry, I missed the front end of that. What is being put in?
There's a
Considered?
donor that just called me and was interested in donating the music portion for the Libby Park, Libby Park Playground. Yeah.
Initially, early on, we had discussed, a musical feature for the kids in the, kind of over by the tot land and the sandbox area. And it ended up not making the cut, but sounds like it's resurfacing possibly, so. which
I
is
immediately heard a few concerns. Well, the sound arch is pretty loud, and we have our concerns about operating it and so on, so that there were people concerned about the volume and loudness of it and so on. That I think there was some thought about, kind of these steel drums made out of stainless steel in an artsy format.
Right.
Just to try to make sure they're muted a
Not
little
too
bit.
loud.
Yeah, right, so that it's not another too noisy of a feature in the park anyhow.
Okay.
So whatever, we'll see. When that's very preliminary anyways.
That'd be fun, though. The ever-expanding Libby Playground.
Right.
But plus the drumming group would like that. I think
Exactly,
that's
yeah.
down there on
I know.
Fridays or whatever day they're down there.
They might take over.
Yeah, they might take over it, right.
And then the turf hill, we do have a problem with some of those seams we have to keep on. And now that one tree that was it's been declining for years, and we did pull that tree to the east side of the turf hill. So we're going to take a look if there's some way that we could try to expand the turf hill a little bit, to the east side, and maybe try a nylon type AstroTurf. I think that doesn't stick as much and pull.
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously very popular.
Right. It was crazy popular when we opened, and it's drifted to
It has.
popular.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's
The crazy has fallen off.
One of the concerns with the nylon AstroTurf, though, is it can burn the kids.
Okay.
They tend to slide down, bare skin. That's come up in other areas that I've been around. So it might be something to just take a look at.
That's good to hear. I didn't, I know it's supposed to be faster.
Right.
And mostly I've been in a lot of contact initially when we designed it with the Santa Barbara Zoo.
Yeah.
And that's what they used, was the original AstroTurf manufacturer. It was made of nylon. And theirs has way heavier use than ours, and it has lasted about 6 years. I think they just replaced it. So I was surprised to see ours, after a year of use,
Yeah.
having that much trouble.
Would, if you were to expand it, would you make it higher as well? Would that be the point?
I think we'd try to go a little longer, a little higher, both, you know.
Yeah.
I think we'd kind of limited north-south between the trees and so on still, but we'd have to go to the east, and then maybe you could expand it a little bit.
That'd be
Keep-
great.
Keep in mind everybody's sensitivities to it. So we might have to circulate that concept a little bit if we infringe on the park too
Of
much.
course.
Mhm. So with that, I think we have time. Just want to throw it out there as well, that it's in our, it's in the future planning stage. Might go on to the CIP to do, that AstroTurf is fairly expensive.
Right, it wasn't
Yeah.
cheap, I remember that, so.
I don't know if Commissioner Murphy has experience with the AstroTurf.
Just from experience with, and this is dating back a little bit, with the nylon type, that if kids slide down with bare legs, they can get, their skin can get burned.
Okay.
For some kind of a, I'm not a scientist, but some kind of a friction that comes up there that causes them to burn, much like if you slide across a carpet.
Yeah.
That type of thing that would just might be worth taking a look at.
Yeah, I wonder if it's any, the material we have out there now is a polyethylene, and I don't know if it'd be any different, but it's a little stickier.
Okay.
We did a little different design too, but yeah. Okay, when we get there, we'll make sure we talk to you completely if we're going to change it.
Right.
at all.
Sounds good, though.
Yeah, I figured you'd be supportive.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
I mean, I think I say it every month, but it's amazing the use that playground is getting.
It's
I mean, still.
Yeah.
Over a year later, and it's still packed. I mean, at Christmas break or holiday break when all the kids were out, I mean, we would go there and it was still busy. It's great, so.
I was out there on Christmas Day and it was packed.
Yeah,
On
Yeah.
Christmas Day. It was amazing.
it's good, so.
Yeah. And then to touch on the lower Libby, the restrooms, we had the partitions. So we've got those, all the quotes, and we purchase ordered it, and it was close to $10,000. And we're doing a higher quality material that will, I think, last for next 20-plus years. And there was an ADA review we're doing with Building and Safety. I think we just completed that today, and now the order will start. So it's roughly 2 weeks delivery, 2 weeks install. So roughly mid-late February, we should have the partitions in.
Nice.
So
And how big are they?
So we're pulling out the stub walls that are in there,
Right,
because those were complicating. If we did remodel down there and put tile or anything, it complicated a bit.
right.
So these are, each stall will have your standard partition height. I think they're,
Okay, so they're just,
yeah, kind of 6 foot tall. Yeah, not the little stub
right,
height. So they'd be like 6 foot tall and kind of a nice, I don't know, it's the CR design, super graffiti resistant
right.
material, super durable and all that.
That's good to hear.
So-
That'll please a lot of people.
We'll beat the tennis tournament. I think that's what you're
Like,
pushing for,
the
right?
tennis
So-
tournament they'll be shocked.
Yeah, exactly. Very excited and
USC
thankful, I'm sure.
UCLA players won't even recognize them.
Yeah,
Might look more comfortable, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so if we have a few more minutes, I just want to pass out the
Definitely.
turf hill. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, I want to pass out the, still thinking turf hill to get it on the CIP for next year, to pass out the CIP plan. So this is the 5-year plan that was already approved. And so I just kind of want to go over that because I think you were pushing for earlier the better, so as to get everybody thinking about it sooner than later. So this is the parks only portion of the CIP. The first 5 columns are part of the 5-year plan. And the first 5 columns are just a summary of the total dollar amount planned for each year. And then the section to the right is broken out with Fund 31 and the other fund. And I saw the mayor's here, and let me see if do we have an extra copy?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mayor Johnson, did you want a copy of
soft.
the CIP?
That is
We're looking at it if you're interested anyways, so, yeah. And so the first 5 columns are the summary, and the columns to the right are the same thing. They add up to that summary column. The first column being Fund 31, which is our capital improvement fund at the city, and the other funds are grant monies or other special funds that are contributing to it. So going down the list, we've got the picnic table, bench, and trash can replacement program, and that you can see was planned for last in this fiscal year, and that's complete. We've got, we're just assembling the last of the picnic tables to go underneath the new shelters. And as a side note, those have hollow cores we're filling with sand, so it adds a couple 100 pounds to them. So they're a couple 100 pound picnic table plus a couple 100 pounds of sand, and it makes them pretty hard to move, which is the whole idea. Right. And then if you go down to Libby Park, there's the fountain area trip hazard fix. A lot of the 2x4s between the concrete slabs around the fountain were settling and having a little trip hazard. So we've been working on those slowly. So I'd say that's the primary ones are handled, and we're still working on it. So we're handling it with our own crew and a couple other people helping us. The remodeling the restrooms, we had approached the Ojai Civic Association for their support, and they're interested, but they wanted a more detailed concept plan. And I think you were interested in one as well. So we've approached an architect, and they promised it for Christmas, but I don't think I saw it in my email box anywhere. So I'm pushing that, but we're close to having that concept done. So we'll
That's
bring
for upper and lower, or just upper?
the focus is upper.
Just upper.
The
okay.
three alternates at upper, you might recall, were to remodel the
Right.
existing, or number two is to add a separate building with individual toilets for special events and so on, or to tear down the entire existing and put a new facility in that would have extra capacity, and we'd shut off majority of it for most of the time. We don't need it.
Okay.
So that's what we're supposed to be getting that concept back on. And then it shows last year the new playground's complete. The bike park is underway. We've been coordinating with John Lamar. They're using him as kind of the design coordinator. So we're meeting with John. We've already met with him out there. We've met with an arborist and looked at the tree impacts, and now we've helped support with an aerial photograph and topography and so on that we had. So we've gotten some support. I think John's working on a couple, I don't know if you heard the latest on that, Saf, but I think he,
Any updates?
and we're also coordinating the cultural resources impacts, and we have a planner working on that as well.
Okay.
So I think that's moving forward, and their goal is to get it built this summer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a tight schedule. They might make it. We'll
That'd be
see.
great.
And then you get down to the gym. We've just got some roof work planned for this year, next year. And it sounds like some of that was even coming up. There's some minor leak, I think, that showed up after this past storm. So those were on the schedule to get fixed. The courtyard, the one that's shown here was the courtyard shade in between the Boyd Center and the gymnasium.
Yeah.
And I think we're kind of looking at using our own crews and buying the fabric. So I think this budget will work. We're going to buy fabric and put in poles out there at the CrossFit area. So I think this will cover it, and it'll happen, I guess, when the heat comes on, we get pressure. So we'll make sure it's done before the summer comes on. And then the picnic area underneath Sarzati Park, the picnic area and canopy pad is shown there. We already reviewed that today. The trash enclosure you see was complete out there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it looks a little taller than we all expected, but that was part of the new designs. Everybody wants to open the lids inside the shelters instead of outside. And then we had the Field 1 light poles. That's been lower priority. It's related to Ojai Civic Association. We're hoping they'll help us. They had previous interest on it, so we're hoping to approach them once we cleared up the restroom remodel. Want to get that done as a priority first.
Okay.
What is that?
The light poles, the Ojai Civic Association was interested in supporting that, and but we want to keep
Replacing the poles?
Replacing,
Uh-huh.
there's two, right?
two wood poles.
Standards
Two
that-
old ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're on Field 1.
Is I don't know how this ties in, but when we talked about replacing the lights, there was mention like the way the poles currently are, we couldn't have LED lighting. And maybe it seems like all that should be considered at once.
Right,
Maybe
and
a
we
different
have been,
placement.
because when we started, it didn't appear to be good at all, and now it's getting better constantly.
Okay.
Even the street lights, they, just a couple of years ago, SC wasn't too supportive of it, but they've really come around too.
I think in November we had talked about it, the light poles, and possibly tabling that until seeing what other possibilities come out. But
Yeah.
it sounds like it's low on the totem pole anyway. So
Right,
Yeah.
so
It's
we just keep an eye on this LED progress, and it could be good, but it seems to be certain issues related to those.
Right, and it would be some reconfigurations on most of the poles was the concern.
Right.
So
Mhm.
Wasn't, yeah.
okay,
But the flip concern is the safety.
yes,
The
of
concern of the poles, that would be left to
yeah,
an
and the
engineer
current
to-
use
to-
that the park
to
already
decide
gets. So, yeah.
the strength of those poles and
Right.
what their
I think that's the problem.
longevity, what their
Very hard to
longevity
define,
is.
but I think we're ahead of the
it
curve,
is.
and that's
Yeah.
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 So I think, I'm sorry, we had 1,500 there under workout area shades. So
Yeah,
between
that's
the
the
1,500
CrossFit.
here and the 5,000, that was the two shades. We did get that in there. So,
The shade that's in the current CrossFit picture, is that the one that they purchased?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right.
And
And we're
that-
talking about putting in like the triangular shades, kind of like we
Yeah.
put in at Libby Playground, is that correct?
they wouldn't be anywhere near that quality. We're talking about
Of course. but-
simpler, I mean, those had huge, heavily designed, and they're
Yeah.
tension cables that hold it tight. So we're talking a higher
Well-
quality fabric than this and bigger than this with poles that I'll basically design with the crew and we'll put them
Gotcha.
in.
Okay,
And so I think that was this year, and then you can see for next year, they're shown, this came up that the sewer line, Ojai Civic Association, others are aware of, we're all aware of the sewer line issue.
sorry, we had
Yeah.
Daily Park and we have the skate park lights too.
Right, thank you. Yep, so at the very bottom there, true, the Daily Park sign has been low priority too. We haven't really ever gotten to that, but we should put it down there. I guess if we did a sign that, because basically it says Daily Park, I don't know if we want too much more of the City of Ojai Daily Park, isn't it? I think
Right.
that's what we did in front of
Yeah.
Sarzati. We just said City of Ojai Daily Park. If we use the exact same format, are we good, or would we like to see I could get the proof of it and bring it to the next commission meeting, but it's pretty straight.
Yeah, I mean, we should probably present it, but I mean, I like the look of the Sarasota one.
Yeah,
Okay,
consistent.
I mean, you can bring it so then we can all buy off on it, I guess. But
right.
I do like the look of it, and to Commissioner Firestone's point, it's consistent. If we keep it consistent, it doesn't look all hodgepodge all over the city,
Okay,
so.
good plan. It's okay. The skate park lights, and so we're working with the skate park group right now, and they've got, Bill Ulrich is acting as construction manager, so he's pushing that forward on their side.
Right.
Has been in contact with us, and we've had a meeting with him, and he's got a couple submittals. He's got a hit list. There was just an email yesterday about it, where he's got a
Okay.
couple items for a site plan to get to us. But I think that they've got full funding. I think everybody's aware of
Yeah.
that this time, and so it looks like it'll.
Sorry, Greg.
Yes, it looks like
We
it's,
talked about the end of February, which I think is pretty ambitious, but
yeah,
project being complete,
right.
I don't know.
That's a good goal.
Hey,
Right,
that-
well,
how it's
Yeah.
go, but it's-
sounds a
Keep
little.
the goals lofty, that'd be great, though. I mean, to get that done that quickly.
And once it's approved in the contract, they're handling it, not us. It's a donation,
Yeah,
and so it should be quick once they give them the go-ahead. But
great.
it'll be good for them to experience that instead of us. Writing us why we're not done, yeah. And then next column had the, there's an issue with the sewer line from the restrooms. I guess it backed up back during Ojai Day about a dozen years ago.
Mhm.
And there's some fixes to that, but the fixes have complications too. So we're going through, Ojai Valley Sand District is, Jeff Palmer's helping us with that. They've got some
Okay.
people that kind of specialize in that. So they're helping us do a concept design, and we're seeing what the budget will, right now I've got 35 in there is roughly what it would take. So that'll help make them and us more comfortable. It's an unusual line out there because it takes the Polito development that's adjacent to there, the old, the Mexican restaurant and the gallery and all that sewer line feeds that as well. So it's kind of an unusual line. It's city-owned through the park, but it's
Okay.
really a line used by private properties as
Mhm.
well. So I think because of that, OVSD's been very helpful, trying to make sure it gets a good fix.
Okay.
And then we had a couple more roofs. We had the outdoor basketball court shown for next year. And then we had the new playground, I think the design effort being planned for next fiscal year
Right.
with the construction afterwards. The problem is with that was when we thought, that shows no CDBG money. So the actual total funding of that, depending on what kind of playground and what budget we actually hit,
Mm-hmm.
could push it out in order to develop funding for that.
Of course.
I have a question regarding the outdoor basketball courts, and I don't know if this is the appropriate time to talk about this, but I've had a lot of people in the community reach out about the Quonset hut and trying to save that somehow. And I don't know where we are in that. I'm getting people telling me it should be an historical landmark. It's been a Boy Scout place forever, and I just told them I'd bring it up. and see where that is. And I know it's in complete disrepair, or at least we talked about that.
Those things are pretty tough, yeah, I mean, you could easily, I shouldn't say easily, nothing's really that easy, but you could consider moving it. I don't think it's shown on the master plan to be moved anywhere.
It's not shown on the master plan, and that was one of the discussions, if we ever got to where we were going to put the basketball or futsal courts, because that's kind of where it's at,
Right.
that we could see if somebody wanted to move it or if the city wanted to move it. Or,
Okay.
But it's not slated to stay in the park, I would say.
I gathered that, but I'm fulfilling my responsibility
course,
to
of course.
to voice the concerns of the community.
Yeah. And I think once we get to actually building the basketball courts, if that comes, up, we will have to tackle the Quonset hut for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Great.
wonder how that would get surplused or,
Yeah.
or put out to market to be moved, or,
I think it's probably brought from some kind of military surplus thing. They're
Yeah.
incredibly durable, tough, you can move them around very easily, so it seems almost like something almost we could handle with my crew. If we pick a new location, maybe want to integrate that in the plan or pick it otherwise, and we could move it when the courts come up.
Yeah.
So that'd be one way to preserve it. That still is the building, and
Right.
I doubt anybody's too attached to the concrete floor of it. I don't even remember if those have floors. Aren't those dirt floors? I think it's just a little perimeter concrete
no,
footing on it.
it's a wood.
It's a wood floor, correct?
Wood floor.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But it is in definitely disrepair is a good way to
Right.
state that, and I don't know without sounding disrespectful, if it's worth, if it's worth
Right.
saving.
And
If someone thought it was worth saving, maybe they could also offer up where it
A
would
place to
go,
put it.
a place to put it.
Suggestions and, yeah.
Because I don't know if it's been tagged as a historical
I-
landmark. That's a whole other
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
issue.
the comments were made by people that are now in my age group, that are in the 60s, that were doing Boy Scout meetings in there, and actually that's where they
Right.
did their stuff, right? And they're seeing that as just a piece of Ojai history that they might lose.
Yeah.
I don't mean to speak for them, but that's the intent they gave me.
No, and maybe if the inside of it was repaired or brought up to code or brought up to speed, then maybe it would have value
Okay.
to save. But I'm not.
Yeah, I think
that's not my area of expertise to say whether it's
Right.
should be saved or not.
Yeah, it certainly has some historical significance along with the Boyd Center, but I would consider it, along with the Boyd Center, something that we tackle once that portion of the plan gets to, us discussing designs and builds.
We'll definitely keep that in mind, yeah. It seems durable enough. That corrugated metal is, there's still a lot of old stuff.
Yeah,
I
It's
think
been
they're-
there,
so-
60 or 70 years, I think.
and it's been moved there. The Boyd Center was moved there as well.
Right.
So there's a history of both of them being moved.
I think there's a similar thing, that Army surplus out at Manzanar during World War II, there
Yeah.
was the encampment there, and they took all that right after the camps all shut down and moved it up to Bishop for airport, so now they've moved it all back there because they're making a monument out of
Yeah.
the whole Manzanar area there, so you can move those things around, that's the whole idea.
Right.
So, yeah, we'll keep that in mind for sure.
Great,
when we get
thank you.
there,
I
yeah.
agree, it is something to keep on the radar, though.
So that was kind of the CIP. I just want to throw it out there and introduce it because I know you wanted to get an early start, so at least you know and are thinking about it. You can start sketching out any ideas or.
Definitely.
I think funding. I think our finance director is supposed to be doing a mid-year report pretty soon. So part of that was kind of there was a detail that I distributed separately that has the funding. And there was a little debate on whether or not there was this operational surplus in recreation or not. So I think hopefully we'll have that straightened out pretty soon.
Yeah, and I think Mr. Livingston's helped us kind of see where everything's coming from over the last few months, which has been super helpful as well to come and eliminate that confusion.
Right.
So,
So hopefully the numbers
Um,
up, and there's
yeah.
more surplus and all that.
Yeah.
So
and we do have it on our February meeting as well to start going over this as well. So,
okay.
thank you for coming this month, because then we can kind of start looking at it, and everybody can see if everything makes sense, if there's anything we're missing, or if we want to. I think we had talked about reallocating some of the stuff regarding the basketball courts or whatnot, or the gymnastics equipment and whatnot. So, but we can look at it now, a month ahead, which is great.
Okay. All right, well, that's kind of what I had anyways to introduce, so if there's any.
Anybody have any questions or anything for Mr. Grant?
Thanks for putting this together. It's helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is great.
I do have one question, sorry. The shades at the Libby Playground, we were going to remove those during the winter, is that correct? I seem to remember us discussing we were going to move
I think
them.
the shades at Libby, that's a super durable
Right.
material that should hold up just fine, and that
Okay.
we were.
I thought
And
we
they're also a
discussed-
stress material, I mean, they're actually, rigged and brought in
Yeah.
tension, so it's kind of an ordeal to pull those up and
Right.
down. I think we considered it,
Okay,
and we were, because the material at the Libby Bowl, that's the one we've
Mm-hmm. That's
kind
the
of
one.
gone back and forth, but we seem to damage them more pulling them down every year, because
Right.
it's difficult to pull those up and they get stressed, but that's a different material.
okay,
The material's actually holding up well. We've had a problem with the threading that were sewn on it, and some of those have degraded, and we had a couple tears.
okay,
And so we're actually working with a sail company, a local sail company, it appears to be easier to have them come up with their sewing machine and sew it on site with a couple of our guys helping instead of hauling it down there. They don't have room in their shop to have those big shades inside there.
okay.
So, yeah.
All right, I was there the other day.
Yeah, because I really thought originally that those shades would have held better if we pull them and get them out of the sun for
Yeah.
half the year. But the worst sun's in the summer, and there are damages occurring pulling and replacing them.
Okay,
At least we didn't have them out for El Nino, right?
right, exactly. Dodge that bullet.
Cross our fingers. They said there might be a boomer coming this
Yeah.
month. They're not quite sure yet, but yeah.
All right, great.
Well, thanks. If that's it, then
Thank
I'm.
you, yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Okay.
Greg, appreciate it. All right, so we will move on to the discussion item, 8A, the Sarasota Master Plan. We're going to, this is the final design review concept. If anybody has any corrections or issues or concerns about it, now's the time before we hopefully make a recommendation to send it to council for approval.
I had a few.
Yes,
So one was on the itemized cost portion, that basketball court that we were just discussing, that we ended up removing. It's still in the list of costs.
Oh, what page was that on? You have just where it says basketball court. Oh, I see page 19.
Yeah, so there's like
Oh,
the multi-purpose
Yeah.
courts, and then there's the basketball
We should,
court.
you're suggesting we should just remove that?
Yeah, if we've removed it from the plan, yeah.
Yeah, we removed it from the
Yeah,
plan, so
so-
we probably take it out.
the,
Because it includes it in the multi-sport
Right.
fields. Or multi-sport courts. as it were. And something we noticed at the bottom of every page, it says Sarasota Park and Live Oak Park. We'll make sure that gets removed.
Yeah, I was
I was wondering where that came from.
We
yeah.
do have a Live Oak Park, but
Right.
it's not officially the name of our park, so. We found a few other typos in here. There's if you don't mind me
No, go for it.
saying some of the things, we want it to include the impact, the total impact on the turf, like square footage.
Right, we had talked
I
about
mean,
adding that.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think you guys, this commission had talked about, well, how much area of turf are we gonna lose or gain?
mhm.
And then water use, how that was going to be mitigated or
Affected by the loss of
affected
turf
by
or,
the loss of turf or
Right,
increase
or
of turf,
increase,
and
yeah.
how are we gonna handle that? There was talk about some, I'm not real familiar with this term, but the bioswale, like how to keep that gray water and.
well, we had taken the bioswale out of the plan.
did?
Yes, because it
Yeah.
wasn't really feasible to the overall design. But there was the question about the turf and the water
Right,
usage and all
so,
of that,
and-
so.
Basically, yeah, the estimation and the total turf and water impacts, I
Right.
guess.
Yep.
To
Do we-
include that.
Maybe we're missing a page in the packet, but it looks like I don't see the multi-purpose courts in here. I saw them,
missing that too.
the
That's
one
what
I
I was
was
just
Are
gonna say.
you?
emailed.
Oh,
It goes from
Looked a little
17 to
different than
19, I
this.
think.
it does.
Yeah, page
It
18, I
does
think,
yours?
had it on there.
Okay.
And,
Well-
yeah, I was gonna mention that.
Well, my apologies for that because mine is You're missing what pages?
18,
18
Just 18.
yes.
20.
And 20.
Huh.
And
Must have been a problem.
maybe I'm just looking at this wrong, but, okay.
You might have just got.
And 22, and 22 and 24.
Well, I
I
can,
don't see a page 12.
I
It looks
can-
like all the even numbers.
Yeah, we missed the evens.
you don't have any of the even.
No,
No.
Huh. Interesting.
but it was on the email, yes.
Was it correct on that?
So on the email, there was the
Everything was there?
multi-purpose,
Yeah.
and there was also a separate basketball court.
Yeah,
Okay, well, this is mine with notes. I mean, not that it's going to help you much, but I can pass this one around if you'd like. And
Yeah.
certainly you can email me separately with
Concerns or?
concerns or on page, whatever it is that has either a typo or you want to make comment on. You're welcome to give me that feedback.
Right. I had a couple other things if we want to keep going. I don't know.
yeah, keep going. I have a concern about making a recommendation though tonight if everybody doesn't have the full
I
packet.
agree.
And the-
Yeah.
You know, I don't think we should make a recommendation if everybody doesn't have the full packet. Granted, I know it's on our email and we all get to read it, but it's not here.
Well, we can
And-
reintroduce it again in February. It's just going to, just
Gonna take
to
a
let
month,
you
and
know,
that's
it's just
a whole
going to
nother
delay it
issue.
one more, but it's
Exactly.
not as if we're ready to break
I guess we're not building
ground
we're not building the rec center tomorrow anyway, so.
Well, I was gonna say, it's
You're
not gonna
right.
back the whole thing up for, yeah, right. You
I,
can't shoot baskets next week?
Yeah,
yeah,
on it's not going to, and well, by all means, we can bring it back, and Vice Chair Intner will be here, and that'll be nice too, so I don't see a problem with that. And
But I think-
my apologies for
it's okay.
I don't know.
It happens.
the printing process.
yeah, I would also appreciate more time, I mean, if this is the final, to kind of go through it more closely and
Sure.
make sure.
Agreed.
But
I think it's fair enough. Yes.
we did have a lot of time. I know you sent it around.
No, but I defer to your concern about not having all those pages right in front of you now, and we'll bring it to February's meeting.
I think we should, yeah.
So
Yeah.
can I?
But
bring
yeah,
up a couple
definitely-
things? So
definitely
I
put
think
that.
also we're missing that must be on an even page, the map of the layout.
Yeah,
Which has all the labels. And I noticed one thing that wasn't labeled was, but is drawn in, is next to the DG path that goes around half of the park or 3/4 of it. There's like a paved, I think the intention was to have a paved thing next to the DG for wheeled
Uh-huh.
things,
Right.
scooters
Yes.
and stuff.
Here,
And I didn't see that pointed out. I thought that was.
you're just talking in the photos.
it's in the photos, but it's not called out.
On the
Yeah,
map,
I'm gonna pass this one around to you, or hand that one to you, and maybe you can, if you tell me, and then I can
sure.
add it to another full copy that I have here.
That's right, I have it here.
Page 12, which
Okay.
is
Yep.
Yeah.
where they
See
call
that?
out a lot
Uh-huh.
of the features. I
Yeah.
thought somewhere in this document that should be called out. So I was
Because
gonna-
you don't think that those two paths are indicative of the white, the white path, and then
This path right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
that
right.
little white layer there?
Yeah, I mean, I think
Because
it's
it's not
a
enough.
feature that we had discussed, and I feel like it's.
You'd like
it's
it to
worth-
be labeled, maybe?
Well, the DG trail is labeled, so I think the concrete trail
Okay.
around the park.
So
should be labeled.
label.
Either labeled or in the write-up somewhere, it should be mentioned,
Okay.
but,
I think we just call it out next to the DG trail.
yeah,
Okay.
that'd be fine,
It's already
Um,
on there. We
that's
put out the
probably the best.
concrete, yeah.
place for it.
Because, yeah, that was a specific issue.
And then the other thing was that area behind the gym that keeps coming up. If that was going to be paved, I think it's not. So part of that, I think the intent was to pave where we talked about putting a hitting wall, and it's not a hitting wall, but it's a wall. And I thought the idea was to have pavement.
It is paved on,
Is it?
Did we agree to that, to have it paved if we're putting a hitting wall?
there's a couple trees there, yeah. But yeah, it is called with a seating wall, yeah. But it is paved, yeah.
Okay. Okay, it's, I think there's some, maybe,
Yeah.
it's kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but there's some ambiguity about what that space would be.
Yeah. I think there
We
is.
want some pavement, but we don't want a hitting wall. Seems like was what we landed on.
Next to what is the CrossFit area?
Yeah, the other side, not the
Yeah,
side
right.
that's expanding, but.
So just not putting a hitting wall, but a paved area.
Well, yeah, it looked like Adam
Couple picnic tables
pointed
there,
out,
looks like,
it looks like we have that approximate, there's a tree or something
Well,
there
there
that,
currently isn't one there.
yeah.
Right. Okay.
There's not one there right now. At least where it's indicated on this.
Right, so.
So maybe it needs to be cleaned up a little bit.
Yeah, just make that more open space instead of having a tree. It's not a big deal, but.
Yeah.
Because we did, sorry to interrupt, we did discuss, having it just be more open space.
Okay.
And then the last thing was is there room for the two multi-purpose courts?
Yeah, that was my question, because I know it's called out on all the drawings for 2.
Right.
And we've planned for 2, but I know last time we talked, it was gonna be pretty tight.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess that is a question to ask the Community Works, is if it's going to work there.
Right, because I know you had
It's gonna
kind
work
of
in that
eyeballed
space.
it and
We
had
went
some
out,
concerns.
yeah,
and-
really just stepped it out,
Yeah.
and it would be very tight, and it would also, there'd be some concerns with softball's potential
Mhm.
interference there. But if we're gonna have fencing all around it, safety probably won't be an issue if we're gonna put a 6-foot or 8-foot fence, which hasn't been discussed because on the fly, it's not gonna make it that far.
Right.
So, but I guess that's a question for Community Works and our own Public Works Department to see, just going and measuring that out, but we haven't even decided on final dimensions of those courts either.
Correct. We have that.
So that'll also factor in for
Right.
how big are they going to be.
Because
I mean, that seems like that we should know that in the master plan.
Yeah, and I don't think we did finalize that number.
we didn't finalize the overall size of them, no.
No. That's probably something we could bring back in February is what do we want those final numbers, court sizes to be, and will it work in that space?
I think the futsal size, the official size was, it's in November, I think, or October, we discussed it. I think we should see if the 2 of those will fit, because it was just slightly bigger than a basketball court.
Right.
Remember us discussing that? And so I think we look at that dimension and come back in February, and if 2 of those aren't gonna fit, then we should take one out. I don't think we should call 2 out if we don't have space for 2. Don't you think?
Yeah.
I agree.
So,
Okay.
or come back, or maybe we can ask, what's the names?
Pat
Yeah,
Pat O'Brien.
maybe we can ask Community Works to come back and say.
Community Works.
Community Works and say, look, you can fit 2 that are this size, or you can fit 1 official one, Because I think we're talking a matter of feet here. We're not talking, we're off by 20 feet. It's literally like 5 or 6 feet, I think, if I remember correctly from our conversation.
I'll have to look back at the
It's
minutes
not
and the
much, I
notes
think.
on
If
it.
we're off, we're barely off. But to Commissioner Firestone's point, if we're calling out 2, we should have space for 2. So we know we can build 2.
Yes.
What is the constraint on the west side? Is it trees or what's?
Here?
Trees.
on-
You're
on
talking.
this side? That's because
That
that's
side, yeah.
limiting how
Well,
That's
Yes,
the concern, right? Is how
It's
far
the
out.
safe, the safety
softball
and
field.
softball.
Okay.
And on this side, it's on the, I guess, well, you said this is the west, so let's go north, I guess. The north side of it, it's
South.
the tree, it's actual oak trees that are lining
Okay.
that
Got it.
parking lot. There are oak trees
Oak
right
trees
there.
in the
And it
neighborhood.
probably would even have to go into the parking lot some,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
this other court. But it potentially would eliminate existing oak trees that are there
Mhm.
as well.
The space that's in the middle between the two courts, that was set up as what?
Nothing more than,
Just a
nothing more
buffer,
than a
maybe.
buffer, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, if it got down to being a foot or two, much like they do with tennis courts, that could just be a half a fence
Mhm.
that goes across there and basically put the two courts literally side by side.
Right.
yeah, and I guess with some of these things, there aren't dimensions on there.
Yeah,
No.
There aren't
right,
Specific,
Right.
right.
detailed dimensions of,
But
A lot
community
of
work
those
should be able to
things.
tell us if we say, look, we're gonna
Need
put in
this
a
fit.
50 by, or 60 foot by, what was the
No.
basketball?
60 by 90.
90 or something like that, 60 by 90, 60 by 100. We wanna put two of those in. Will this fit?
Will it fit in that
They
area?
should know.
Sure, I'll ask that question.
Okay. Anything else, Commissioner Firestone?
Okay.
No? Anybody else have any questions? Anything else they want to call out on the Sarasota master plan, on this revision now? No? Okay. So yeah, let's bring it back in February with the answer to the futsal as well as the packet, and we'll hopefully make a recommendation then.
I'm gonna get after that copier, who that
I
person was.
know, exactly.
That would be me,
Um,
that would be me.
You
But
you didn't press the two-sided
I
button.
guess
You
I
only
did.
pressed the
Yeah.
one-sided button.
Yeah.
Right.
Must have been it. I was wondering
No
mine
problem.
was so thick.
Perfect, all right, thank you. Moving on, we will do, on to 8B, the master fee schedule. The infamous master fee schedule.
So,
I
the
have
two
some-
areas that we're mostly, considering changes on are the picnic areas and the activity guide ads.
So I have a few questions.
Sure.
One, do you know the capacity of the 3 new picnic shelters?
You had sent me that email.
It was a late
and-
email, I know, I didn't know if you got it.
No, I got it, and our previous picnic areas were 50 or 100.
Right,
And I think these will be
right in there,
right in there. So the two small areas,
about 50 and
about 50, and the larger would be 100. So you figure if you get, let's say, 8 6-foot picnic tables in there at six people per table,
Mhm.
doing the math there, it's close to 50. If that's how many tables are gonna go, when the old picnic areas were there, it wasn't an exact science either as far as determining capacity. But
Right.
I have a feeling there is a square footage to person calculation that you should do to calculate
Mhm.
actual capacity. So I'll find out what that is.
Okay.
I don't know off the top of my head, but I know
So,
the old picnic areas were 50 and 100.
okay, so let's say it's around there.
Yes.
Soul Park for a 50-person picnic area, barbecue shelter, whatever, we want to- park, picnic shelter, charges $65 with no security deposit. And that's out at Soul Park.
Uncovered or cut, that
That's
must
for
be
the-
an uncovered area? or-
That's for the
Just-
50-person, the smaller, like, covered one, it said, the picnic
Oh.
shelter.
Oh.
The large ones, though, they seat 200 to 250 people. And the 200, they charge for 185 and 185 security deposit. And 250 people charges 225 and 225 security deposit. The reason I bring it up is for the 50-person, let's say, we are going to in turn charge more than Soul Park for a general use. not for a nonprofit, but for a general use. We'll be charging more than Soul Park. Now granted, ours is downtown, ours is brand new, it's nice and shiny. But
You said theirs was 65.
for a 50 person picnic shelter,
Right.
it's $65.
And we're proposing, actually, on the small area, 1 and 2, we're proposing 70.
For general, not for, if it's 50
Right,
bucks for
for-
nonprofit, but general use, $70, and $100 for the large one.
That's
Um,
right. Well, right, we'd be slightly, yes, above if those numbers are 50, if they're straight up the same.
Right. I know when we've been out there before, and we've been at a couple picnic tables, and then like we were out there one day and it started raining, so we went over to the picnic shelter. She said, "Yeah, you have to charge us. We'll have to give you $65 right now if you want to stay here." Granted, nobody else was in the park, but that's a different discussion.
They came, excuse me, they came up to you and told you
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Wow.
They're keeping up good relations, but that's a different discussion. But my point is, we're charging more than Soul Park.
Okay.
And again, it's downtown, but we might want to look at the competition.
Okay.
Soul Park gets a lot of use in the picnic shelters. You know, that's about all that gets used out there. But it is, I mean, it's a nice park to have it out there.
Well,
Just something to consider.
Yeah.
And I think some of the difference with Soul Park is the parking.
Correct.
They have so much more parking out there that you can't have 150 people at Sarzodi
Right.
very easily and park them all
Right.
without getting into the residential areas.
Right. And that being said, they are cheaper, but they also still charge you the entrance fee per vehicle.
Right.
So just something to keep in mind before we
Okay.
start raising the rates higher than the county park that's, you know, a mile away.
Sure.
So, the other question I have is why do we have a and maybe you might not be able to answer this, but maybe you can tell us who could, but why do we have a nonprofit and a general use? Why is there a
Generally, the
difference?
nonprofits get a break in fees because, I mean, folks that are doing birthday parties are, I guess, nonprofit too, if you will.
That's my point, and maybe
Like
something
private,
would be
yeah,
better if we had a,
parties, because if you, a for-profit group.
no, well, yeah, or maybe something along line, obviously, if they're selling stuff or whatever, or if we do, another question is why do we do the resident versus non-resident for programming? What if if we're gonna keep to that, what if we did that similar, something like that for the park facilities? Give the residents a break and non-residents then have to pay the $10 extra or something, as opposed to doing nonprofit versus general use.
To that point, I can't imagine a scenario where people rent the picnic area and then charge people to come in
Right.
for the picnic. So in essence, everybody is nonprofit, right?
You could say that, but to his point, if you did it as someone was out there doing a fundraiser or trying to, not as a profit, but we don't typically have people going out there to sell something, and because they have to get a lot of approval there to make that happen on city property.
Right.
It's just been an established thing to give nonprofits a break because they are nonprofit. And generally, they're doing something for the betterment of the community or to help in some way. They're usually a helpful organization, or
Right.
they're doing it, again, as a community outreach or assistance or something like the fire safety uses our space. So
Yeah.
they get the nonprofit rate. They're doing a community event to help the community, whereas a private party is just
It,
a private party looking to
it seems like
serve whatever they're doing.
that might be the more meaningful distinction, not kind of what the corporate structure of the party is, but what the actual use or the event is. Like if it is something that's like a community educational event or something, sure, that they should.
Right, and generally the nonprofit acts in that
So
capacity.
in practice, I mean, how common is it that it's nonprofits using this stuff, and what are the typical nonprofit?
Well, I mentioned the Fire Safety Coalition. I really can't think of a lot of nonprofits using that space off the top of my head. Because it
Right.
just,
So also there might be, I don't know, some organizations that maybe don't think about this, but really we would want them to have kind of a reduced fee for use.
right. I think
How
whoever
you-
established that policy from the beginning was thinking in those terms, that
Mhm.
nonprofits are generally coming out and trying to help the community or do something positive for the community as opposed to just a private event.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are,
Does
are,
that help? Does it-
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It just seems like we're,
In the fee, between the difference in fee with most isn't that significant,
well,
usually.
in the list of the facilities, are any of these facilities maxed out through the year? Like the banners, for instance, are they?
The, I don't see, what page are you on?
Well, I'm on the same where it says banner, fee description, banner, banner hanging, banner storage fee, page 8. Right, aren't we, isn't that the current fee and proposed fee? Isn't this where we are?
Banner hanging, that's more public works, but to try to speak for them, yeah, practically every week.
I think they're all maxed out pretty much,
They're
right?
all maxed out.
Yeah.
It's tough to get a
Well, and that's my,
banner time.
right, that's kind of my
Right.
point. When things are completely maxed out, I'm not seeing any fee increases, and maybe there's a reason for that I've missed, and maybe there's not. But are we trying to generate income? And if we are, if something's maxed out, that would be the place to raise a fee, it would seem to me.
Sure, I can
I don't know
take
if
your,
that's-
no, I can take your,
Yeah.
that opinion forward. That particular area, I didn't make any proposals on.
Well, And the
These
reason,
are definitely, I mean,
Right.
obviously, these are drafts too.
Yeah. Of
course.
And council hasn't even had opportunity to really weigh in on any of these fees. I mean, they're coming to you actually way
yeah.
kind of a
But
decent
it
amount
does
ahead of
make
time,
sense
but-
if there's a supply and demand issue. you know?
exactly, because that's what
And I
I'm
do
seeing.
remember Mr. Grant saying that. I mean, you have to ask, months or a year in advance or something, and certain events have, the tennis tournament, it's got that week or 2 weeks locked up every year already. So if
Okay, so
you have a
your-
limited availability,
Your suggestion is things like banner hanging or any other program that is has a maximum or is
Well,
in high demand, that
Yeah.
maybe there should be consideration.
Because the reason I'm looking down and I'm seeing basically throughout the whole list, there's one, maybe 2 fee changes. Everything else is remaining basically the same.
Yeah, again, some of these areas aren't necessarily mine to weigh in on. The
Right,
ones that are
yeah.
the ones that park and rec related, I would say, Libby tennis courts, the picnic areas, and the activity guide fees for the activity guide ads are what I proposed changes for.
Okay.
yeah.
So it's, would be a little bit inappropriate for me to try to speak to.
No.
But I'll give that feedback back to the other departments as to their potential fee changes.
Just an observation.
And rightfully,
Yeah.
observed.
The, I actually have a question on the tennis courts, and the question is more for Commissioner Murphy. The increase in $1. In the notes, it said it hasn't been increased in over a decade. I mean, I don't play tennis, so I couldn't tell you how factual that is, or how much the 550 versus 650. Do you have any feedback, do you think, from?
I don't
from the
know
tennis?
how often, I know, at least I think I'm accurate in this, is at least when I was running the program, there were very few that people even rented the courts.
Okay.
I think now there's an ongoing relationship with the WILE Academy, is there not?
That's correct.
Yeah, and do they pay a fee for the courts?
They pay that $5.50 an hour per
Okay.
court. They pay that fee, and it's per court, per hour.
But aside from that, I wouldn't think there's,
There's a few others. There's
Is
a few USTA Women's League, there's UST Women's League, the UST Men's League that rent
Okay.
the courts. And from time to time, we get some private instructors that
Right.
want to rent the courts.
correct.
And then we have our own, which there's no fees. for our own
Don't beat up Rick
programming.
too bad. do
No,
you?
no.
Okay, good.
Do you know how that cost of $650 kind of correlates to other tennis facilities that are rented out?
I don't, actually. That
It
$5.50.
seems crazy low, to be honest with you. I mean,
It
I know
does
it's per
appear.
hour, but
Yeah, I mean, I have, that fee was $5.50 back in 2003 when I started working. So I know that fee has been there
I just,
a long time.
It was,
How it was established, I'm not sure. If they reached out to other cities, and it's a great question, and will inquire as to what we should do with a lot of these fees, I suppose, is see what other cities
Right.
yeah,
are
it just seems if we're in
charging.
line.
when I was tennis director for the rec department, if I was going to give a private lesson, then I would have to pay with that time it was $5. Then I would have to kick $5 of that money back to the rec department because it wasn't a rec program, it was generating
And when was
income
that?
for me.
Sorry,
Oh,
I don't mean to date you, I'm just asking.
1980,
Right, so it was $5 in 1980.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the cost of the programs have significantly gone up since 1980 as well for somebody to take a private lesson. Just-
Maybe it should be 10, maybe it should be,
I'm just saying we should maybe
15.
look into it, yeah. I mean, maybe it should be, I mean,
I'll see what.
maybe we don't want to do, of course, a 200% increase on somebody,
No,
but,
and that's the problem. Well,
sorry, we haven't
no,
upped it in
actually,
20 years,
hit the
but,
nail on the head.
yeah.
Because we're thinking even in our own fees,
Mm-hmm.
our own class fees, about how costs have increased, minimum wage has gone up.
Right,
Just the healthcare costs for employees have gone up, all those things, and we're thinking, well, okay, we need to start looking at increasing our fees and actually having a long-term plan of how those fees should
Right.
increase maybe annually, but not going from, okay, well, it was $5.50, and now we're gonna go
now
to
it's 20.
$12.
Yeah, exactly, I agree.
So you're going to rate, because you haven't looked at your fees or touched your fees all these years. I'll
Now you're gonna take
speak
it back
for
on me,
the-
yeah.
The citizen here.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna raise fees 100%.
Right.
Because you've let it lapse all these years, and now we're gonna pay the price for not doing it incrementally. So I think that was the other rationale is, well, yeah, raise it $1. I can't think of what the math is on that percentage wise.
But we could,
20%.
20%, yeah.
Roughly 20%. So, yeah,
We
you
could look
raise
at
it
it, because
$2.
if the average
they're gonna
across
think I'm
Ventura
getting hit.
and Oxnard and Camarillo or whatever is $20 an hour or something, we could look at it and maybe bump it to 7 or 8 or.
Sure.
Anyway, it's just something to look
You make a
at,
good point,
Or-
but we
or-
want to be fair to the
of course.
customer or citizen
To the
community
citizens of
to
Ojai.
say, hey, we're
Community,
not going
yes.
to go 100% on some of these, or
Right.
maybe, yeah.
Or at least
Even if we find that
plan-
Ventura is $15
Mhm.
or 20, maybe we go 50% on it.
again, if we find we're crazy low, we could stagger it over a period of a few years to go up $1 a year,
But
a
at least
dollar a
we
year,
would
dollar a
know.
year to get.
While we're doing this, let's do it now, or let's do the footwork now.
Agreed. And we're just on a side note, we're thinking along those same
Mhm.
lines with recreation programming fees.
Okay,
Some that have
cool.
not been raised in 3-4 years.
Yeah, it seems like, with all of these, there's probably, I guess the rationale for what the amount is, what it is unclear. And it seems like, I mean, it's worth kind of going through the items and thinking like, how does it compare to other facilities? Is there a reason why we want to keep the cost high or low or whatever it is?
I mean, we've engaged a consultant to do this study, right?
Yes.
So let's ask them.
Yeah,
That's kind of what we're paying them for, I'm assuming.
yeah, like city.
Yeah, how do we
comparisons
compare?
or something.
Yeah. That just makes practical sense.
Yeah. We have the non-resident fee in here of 5% or $10.
That's, where do you see that? That shouldn't be.
Line 12?
Line 12, page 8.
Oh, yeah, sorry, you said $10? Oh, yeah, when you said $10, it's, 5%, not to exceed $10 per transaction.
Right.
Yes, that's currently what the policy is.
Right.
Yes.
Why do we have that again? I know this was-
Because
Is it
non-
because of taxes and
it's the taxes.
taxes
not-
for people from Miners Oaks and Mirramani and Oakview don't come to the city?
Right,
Not,
they go to.
not directly.
Right, they go to Ventura.
Okay.
So for support, that type of programming support, yeah, any
Right.
parcel taxes and that go to Ventura, not,
Okay. I know there's no way around it, and I know it's a whole big, huge issue to do a rec district, and you have to put it on the ballot, and
yeah.
I know the background to it. It just seems like, I think we talked about it before, I'll say it again, it seems kind of messed up to be charging people of Miners Oaks and Mirramani and Oakview an extra fee, or the people past Gridley, the people of the East End,
Right.
charging them an extra fee when you do live in Ojai. However you slice it, everybody says they live in Ojai. And then we're also sending them the activity guide now. I mean, we send the activity guide to everybody in 93023 and 22. And then everybody from, half the people from 23 and all of 22 has to pay an extra fee. And I know that's a whole nother ball of wax.
It is, and
But
that.
I wanted to go on record and say it, and if you could bring it up
Yeah.
to staff, same thing. I mean, it
Well,
just,
can I make you
Yeah.
feel better about what the current policy is?
yeah,
It was for a while, I don't know how long a period, 2 years, maybe 3. It was $10 per activity.
right,
So if you came in and registered, you were non-resident, and you came in and said, I wanna do the Pee Wee soccer for $45. Okay, that's 55, and I wanna do, there was no limit. And I
Right.
wanna do basketball, it's 100. Okay, it's 110.
Right.
Now you're paying 20.
right. It was
This
for every.
This policy is
I
way
know.
better, infinitely better than what it was.
Right.
But there have been lots of discussions of why have it at all.
Right,
And that is
and I get it.
above that is a council, this is a council decision.
Right,
It
and I
really
know
is.
it.
It's,
Like I said, I know it needs to go on the ballot. It's a whole big ordeal.
To
It's
be
not
to be a valley-wide
to be
recreation district?
yeah, recreational district. It needs to go on the Ventura County
Gotta
ballot.
be moving in that direction, though.
I agree. I mean, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. It seems
But-
like
but
on a lot of things, but
and to make, and we've had this discussion too, yeah, to make recreation programs viable, we need the participants
course.
from
Right.
Miramonte, Miners, Oaks,
Agreed.
Oakview. We need them.
yeah,
Otherwise, we wouldn't have potential.
Yeah.
Might be a little extreme, but maybe we wouldn't have a basketball program, or definitely not as vibrant, or any of the classes that we offer. So we appreciate that. We agree, like, everyone, they're all go to Ojai schools. There's
Right.
of
course.
Miners Oaks is an Ojai school, and
Right.
Miramonte is an Ojai school, but yet they still pay this little extra 5%.
yeah.
You're not the only person who
I know.
bemoans that.
I know,
that,
and
and
I'm just throwing
if-
it out there
if-
because I know it's
Yeah,
it's always a discussion item. And since we're talking about fees, I'd at least like it thrown out again at staff.
Yeah.
well, it's good that you do,
Do you-
and that's an opportunity when commission can speak before council
Exactly.
about certain
I'll bring it up
topics
actually
and
as well, again.
subjects. That would be the time to bring it up, but especially when it's on a council agenda
Yeah.
for fee schedule.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know it ties into so many other things. Anyways, I don't
Yeah.
want
Well,
to go
and how does it get brought up, or where do we go Or is it in the works of
I
doing a
believe
valley-wide?
It's not in the works. It's been discussed for, I don't know, 10 years now, I think. But I believe, my understanding is we need to get council's support, and then in turn, we need to get enough, signatures and all that whole stuff to get it put on the Ventura County ballot. And there's obviously a cost, I guess, associated with all of that as well. So,
It's just so obvious to me
Yeah.
and no offense to Maya, but with the shrinking number of
yeah,
youth in the
Yeah.
valley, and it's consistently shrinking,
right.
that not to combine the basic 3 or 4 areas is ludicrous.
Well, and you have a large majority of the young families that do move to Ojai are moving to Miners Oaks
Correct.
and Oakview and the little more affordable areas.
Yep.
And so you can't capture them anyways,
Right.
or you're, making them pay extra as well. So anyways,
It's just
we'll
something we
talk
should
about it,
revisit. We
and I
should
think-
revisit again.
I think we should revisit it, and I'll try to bring it up at the next council
The-
commission report. And
I feel like, to provide the residents, the official residents' perspective, if you think about it, the city spends $300,000 a year going into
Yeah.
Parks and Recs.
What's
Yeah,
this
the-
again?
yeah.
The city's, we don't want to call it a subsidy, but whatever
Yeah,
portion
yeah.
the city
Yeah.
pays for, divided among 8,000 residents is fairly significant.
oh, I
per
don't
person.
disagree. Yeah,
Which is something that, non-residents of
Yeah.
the city that are using the facilities aren't paying. It's like $40, $50 per person.
paying it. It's just going to Ventura. So they're
Well,
paying
they-
it in their taxes, in their property taxes.
Yeah, it just
It
not
just goes
going.
to Ventura.
Larger
Right.
county.
Yeah,
That's
efforts.
which is the concern.
Well, that's the problem,
Exactly.
right there.
Yeah,
And
we're
how
still
you
paying
get
it.
How you get around that, which is the
Is the one
district that
district,
you're
right,
talking
the
one district
redistricting,
you're talking
right.
about.
Yeah.
But I know it's apples and oranges because we are such a small town, but
course.
most cities, when you talk about doing a comparison like that, most cities charge a percentage for non-residents to come over and use their recreation facilities.
Right.
So it's not out of the ordinary to do
No.
that. What is just we have such.
I think the difference is-
narrow, if you will, the parameters.
Boundaries of
Boundaries are so narrow.
Of Ojai proper are so limited. When
Yeah, they are
There's
so
so many other areas that are considered Ojai.
Not
I mean,
even-
somebody who lives on Carn Road, they're considered Ojai, but
And
not really.
taking
No, they will. Yeah,
and
you're beyond Gridley, and you will pay.
And the voting
Yeah.
for mayor, isn't the Arbolada gerrymandered in some sort of thing where you can't even vote for Ojai mayor if you live in the Arbolada?
Certain aspects of the Arbolada, yeah.
Yeah.
Certain streets are too far, north or whatever, yeah.
It seems that
So-
You have to
the
ask Mayor
county-
Johnson where he campaigned.
We sure,
It
yeah,
seems that
exactly.
the people
Stayed
who
off of
are
Fairview.
included in the county areas are asking for things more like the bike park and the skate park, and those are seeing outside effort put into
Mm-hmm.
those things that they can achieve more
Yeah.
quickly through non-city.
Well, and a lot of it, I mean, a lot of the whole district thing kind of goes back to, it goes with the complete streets and stuff. I mean, the complete streets, the idea is to work with the county and everything on the Miners Oaks areas and Miramontes and out front of Nordoff and, the city as well as outside of city limits and Soul Park and all that stuff. So, I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand with the actual district itself as well, but anyways,
Ojai City's
sorry to open
Well,
that can.
no,
of
you.
But I wanted to- I wanted to
that
see if you
can
could
of
bring it up
worms
to-
has been opened so many times.
So many
can't
times,
tell
I
you
agree.
how many.
But-
It's okay. I think we've got a little better with this because it just, again, it
agree.
used to be
It's-
flat rate. It was $3, then it went to 5,
Yeah,
then it went to 10, and of course, really flat rates don't make sense either because you pay the same
there-
price
there's-
regardless of the cost of the
Yeah.
program you're going
There's
into,
still-
so that doesn't.
competition as far as youth baseball goes, right? With the Oakview League still
Yeah.
is around. So I guess if there's cross pollination, a fee would be customary. I guess if you're gonna
right.
if
Well,
you
there's
could-
Ojai Valley Little League, which is out of Oakview,
Mhm.
but they don't charge you a Ojai resident fee.
Yeah, because if you live in the city, you're still paying county taxes, right? So you could, it's kind of being the part is part of the whole, but the whole doesn't necessarily contain all of the parts.
Yeah.
Or the opposite way around analogy, I
Yeah.
guess,
No, yeah.
which is confusing.
Well, You would be within your right to bring that up again, because it is
We will.
we're on the front lines of that a lot, and it does
Right.
frustrate those who are not within city limits. They don't understand it. why
Right, and I'm
they
sure,
would have to.
we're, like I said, we're
Go
mailing
to
our
Ojai
activity
schools,
guide to
that's
everybody in Oakview. Somebody from Oakview comes up to partake in one of the programs, I'm sure not everybody reads it all the way through or whatever, and, why is it 55
Yeah,
instead of
why did
45?
am I
What are you
paying
talking
more?
about?
Why did I
Yeah.
just?
So,
Yeah, it is. All I can say is it's better than it was.
it is, I do remember those days, and I would agree. Sorry, the next one I have is, why are we upping the rates on the new picnic shelters at all?
Just because of the quality of them, and we figure when you talk about supply and demand, I think there will be a higher demand for them, and they're better than they were.
Oh, great.
We've gone from Motel
Yeah.
6 to.
Yeah.
I won't
So did
use
we
Trump
run that
Tower.
by the Civic Association at all? I know we're not obligated to, but as a courtesy, did we run the fee increase by anybody at the Civic Association? And if not, might we want to, since they did donate half the money for these structures?
We haven't,
Might
and I'm
want to,
not sure.
as a courtesy or I know they can't really
I'm not sure that
mandate, but they
that's-
did
yeah.
donate half the money to it.
Yeah, I'm not sure that that's something,
Can we
when
ask?
someone makes a donation, that you then,
But we don't,
Yeah.
exactly, and we don't want to open that can, but maybe.
that's a little dangerous to say, well,
Yeah.
you donated money, now you have a say-so in how
Yeah, you don't want to.
I spend
I agree,
that
but that is a
money.
very large organization that has a very large amount of capital that helps the city out quite a bit.
I'll answer that
Just-
with saying, I'll have to ask my,
Exactly.
my supervisor.
I'm not
if
saying we
that's
want
something-
to open
yeah.
that can, I'm just throwing it out there, maybe,
Sure.
maybe. I don't care either way, it's just asking.
All these are fair statements.
Yes.
Some context, sorry, for this, there's a consultant that's, working on redoing these or updating them, or how?
There's a consultant working on those with, yes, updating those fees based on staff input.
Okay, and so some of that's happened, and we have some proposed fees, and you're showing us and saying, here's what we're up to, or?
Say that again.
Where in the process are we? It looks like the consultants have done some work, they've gotten some
Yes.
input, they've come up with proposed fees, and now you're showing it to us.
Yes.
Okay.
And then it's going to be brought before city council as well.
Okay. And
with equal amounts of questions, or
Yeah.
many more.
What might be helpful is the rationale for kind of how the proposed fees are what they are. Is just looking at them, we have these questions, but there's maybe very good reasons for why things changed or
Well,
didn't change that we don't.
And there is, to not go through all their methodologies, but to be fair to them, you had gone through them.
No, sorry, I missed that.
It's
Okay,
quite extensive.
Okay.
Like, if, when you have opportunity
got
to
it.
kind of look at what their narrative is and
Okay.
how, because they do actually speak to it.
Got it, that's what I was missing.
And it would be hard for me at this juncture to speak to it eloquently,
Okay, no,
and in detail about how they came to it, but they do speak to it in detail about
Okay.
how they arrive,
Great.
or how you should arrive at costs, or how they arrived at those costs.
Yeah. This looks
And
good.
by the word they is the consultant?
The consultants.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was trying to process in my mind, is we're paying consultants to come up with something that we're supplying the information for,
Right.
which doesn't make sense to me.
Well, prior to this consultant stepping in, there were other consultants that interviewed staff.
Okay.
And said, okay, how much time do you spend, when you do this application, someone comes and they say they want to rent the fields, how much time do you spend? How much time does another staff spend? Field prep, how many hours does it take someone to do
Gotcha.
that field
Okay.
prep? And after they hear all that, you take in the application, it took you this long to do field prep, how much are we gonna charge for field prep? And so those interviews took place, and
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I think they use that information to help determine what the final fee would be. But it was basically by interviewing staff to say, okay,
Okay.
how much time do you spend on that? What's your hourly rate? And the previous business manager was very involved in that, so then we had
Got
a
it.
transition in business managers, a new consultant, so
Yeah.
there seems to be a mesh between those two.
Thanks. That was the context I was missing. Sorry, I missed that, but just
Yeah.
kind of understanding that there was some
Yeah.
rationale behind this.
There was,
And-
and just like the fees that were established before, someone like myself came in, I didn't know how those fees were originally established. There
Right.
wasn't a nice long narrative
Yeah.
that I was handed to say, okay, this is how we came up with this number.
Mhm.
And going forward, this is how you should increase it incrementally, so
Mhm.
you're not doing it all in one big
Yeah.
bump. In this, I'd have to say, at this point of the evening, I couldn't confidently speak to what their narrative was and how they came up with these numbers, but it's there. It's
Okay,
written
yeah.
how they did.
And have you reviewed the proposed fees and what do you think about them?
As it relates to my specific areas, I have.
Got it.
And to your points of, do we want to, let's look not only what Soul Park is doing for their picnic areas and the nonprofits, nonprofit versus general population. That's why it's coming before you, because you are bringing up legitimate concerns. Why are we just doing $1 as opposed to $5? And,
Right.
We kind of reviewed that too. Maybe the answer to that is because we don't want to go up 100%. And we do need to do more research into what other cities are charging as it
Right.
relates to tennis courts. So activity guide, the ones that I'm going to specifically look at, and I would say, well, you can go beyond just our park and tennis courts, but the ones we're focusing on are tennis courts, picnic areas, activity guide. I'm missing one.
Why are we increasing the cost so much on the activity guide too?
Actually, I don't know that it was that high. I think it was 10%, wasn't it?
It was a 10% increase.
Because we're mailing the guides now.
Postage?
We our costs have increased.
Right.
And it's going to way more
a lot
people
more people.
now. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Way more people than
That's what I wanted to know.
ever has.
Yeah.
And we did do some city comparisons in that regard, and even with our 10% increase, we're in line with what other cities are charging.
I had two more things. The half day versus, or the 1 hour rental versus the full day, and is it something we still want to do? There's obviously the labor involved is the same as an hour versus a full day rental. Do we do hour rentals on some of these things? I know we do on some of them, but if somebody wanted to do, the gym or something like that,
We don't get a lot of rentals for the gym just because we rarely have time.
Right, I know, it's pretty much
It's almost
packed,
something
right?
we shouldn't even, but it is just maybe the weekend on a Sunday morning or not even a Saturday morning when it's basketball season. So
Right.
there's very limited opportunity to rent the gym. So when that
And I see
question
we do
is if they are going to rent it, it'd most likely be just on an hourly anyway.
And I was going to say, is there even a demand for that? Have you had a demand for that?
Not really. The NPR, we do. For
Right.
community, when people want to have community meetings,
Okay.
we'll get requests for use of the multipurpose room.
Okay.
But we rarely get full day requests, and if it's going to happen, it would be for someone who wants to have I think a little while back, Nordoff did one of the class, they did a class reunion and used our facility for their class reunion in the
Okay.
multipurpose room. Or they want to do a big birthday party, they'll ask to use maybe the MPR in the game room.
And I see it as a 2-hour minimum on some of those. Is that enough?
2-hour minimum? Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
We'll have a staff come in, there's,
Yeah, yeah. There's still a cost.
cost to have the staff there, and
The other thing I saw that I wanted to bring up was that the county charges $110 to have a jumper at any facility.
at like Soul, if you
So
have
Whole
it
Park,
at Soul
yeah.
Park.
So you rent the space for, $65 or $250, depending on which space. They also charge you $110 to have a jumper there.
No. I wasn't aware of that. We don't.
Yeah. I know.
charge that.
That's got to be to cover liability, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
I'm sure it is. But I'm just saying, I know we don't, but maybe that's something we want to charge for.
Hmm.
Maybe we want to charge $40. I don't know, but that could be an untapped resource, because I know at Sarasota, there's a lot of jumpers.
Yeah. Well,
And
again, that
with the
goes, that goes to the big increase again. It
Right.
would be our only concern, going from
But it's still.
$60 to,
Right.
because, it was, just to let you know, that
Yeah,
the two areas were $60 anyway.
I saw.
It's really only going up $10.
So,
Yeah.
but something to think about. They charge a jumper fee and we don't. So. That's all I had on the fee
Okay.
schedule. Does anybody have anything else for soft to take back? Maya?
I think so.
You said there's not a high demand for the gymnasium, so why is the hourly rental being increased by $10?
Once again, it's on that, it hasn't been increased for a long time philosophy. So, costs to have staff come in, and when someone does rent that space, to
Yeah.
watch that event or supervise that event or be there as staff to help cover those costs. But yeah, there isn't a high demand for it, only because there's no
Okay.
opportunity
There's no available
for it.
space typically,
Yeah.
right?
I mean,
Certainly not at
maybe we
prime
would have
times.
high demand if we had the available times, but we just don't.
Or if we had the 35,000 square foot.
If we have that, when we get that 35 square foot
Just saying.
facility.
Gonna pay for it.
But,
Yeah,
it just
$400
goes
at a
with
time.
that rationale. It's the same, we just haven't increased those fees, but costs are going up all around us.
Right.
Just especially when it comes to staffing costs and minimum wage and benefit costs for full-time
All
staff.
around, right?
When the barbecue area is completed within the next couple weeks, is there anything that we're going to be doing to market that? To try to take some of that business maybe away from Soul Park?
I'm sure we'll be doing there's going to be a ribbon cutting, and we will, of course, promote that on our Facebook page and our website.
Yeah.
And we'll do the same once the picnic areas are complete. We will build it up. We'll put
Maybe
it
give
in
it something
we'll
in the
put it
news.
in our activity guide.
Do we
We'll-
reach out to the local paper? Do we reach out to the Ventura Star to bring somebody up to put that in the paper? Because if we
Yeah.
put it in our existing stuff, only the people that look at our existing stuff is
Yeah.
gonna see it.
Right.
If we want to expand that circle of
Yeah.
influence, then we need to reach out to other
Sure.
other areas.
Yeah, I don't know what the cost behind it would be, but sure, it would be
Well, it wouldn't be
smart for us to, you're saying just invite.
to the grand opening,
Right.
right, to
To
the
the-
ribbon cutting.
to the ribbon cutting.
Exactly,
Yeah,
that's my point.
absolutely.
Not to run an
Yeah.
ad, but just to
No.
Yeah.
get
Just
coverage.
Get coverage.
Right.
Tell somebody at the
Exactly.
Star, and obviously,
Yeah.
I'm sure Ojai Valley News would be there, but
Yeah.
the Star especially.
And you'll all be invited,
Of course.
and bring your friends, but yeah, it's a good idea for those shelters to, once they are
Yeah. We'll pump it up.
complete and we do that ribbon cutting, sure to invite
Okay.
OVN and the Star.
Anything else from anybody? Maya? No?
Nope.
Scouring over there, it looks like. Okay. All right, thank you, Steph.
Sure.
Actually, one quick question. So will that come back to us again with some answers, or are you just gonna take it to staff and?
answers to all the questions. Yeah, we will, I'll bring it to a staff level.
It could
like,
even
at
be
least
maybe
with
a staff, just a
recreation,
staff report next time.
just
to say,
within our own department,
Yeah.
but also to Rudy,
Yeah.
to our finance director,
Okay.
to say,
Be
hey,
interesting to
this
see what he
was
has
the
to say on some of
feedback.
that. Yeah.
This was the feedback from, because he's the one from our
Right.
commission, and he's the one who's been working
Right.
closely with the
You want to have some more
consultants.
insight on it.
And I am sure, like I said, once
Sure
it
he
gets
has more insight
council
on it.
level, it will,
Yeah. Okay.
there'll be a lot more questions and adjustments to, as you can see on every page, it says draft, draft, draft.
Yeah, I know.
There'll be a lot more changes ahead, without a doubt.
Okay. Staff reports, bike proposal, 9A. Commissioner Firestone, do you have anything?
Yeah, do you have anything to?
So I think you got a better one from Mr. Grant than I can give. But the update I got from the bike coalition was that they're still working with Holly,
On their checklist, basically.
the checklist.
Yeah.
Okay. It sounds like John's kind of spearheading it right now.
Yeah, so it sounds like he's in control.
Cool. Okay.
Have they done the parking?
The parking, not review, but study.
Assessment or study? yeah.
Study, yeah. There were some things that said they might let go. I don't think, I know they totally just let go of the traffic study, like they weren't gonna require them to do a traffic study. But there was a back and forth on whether they were going to be required to do a parking study as well.
Okay.
And I know there is concerns about that because some of the big events that happen,
Mhm.
in Ojai, specifically the tennis tournament.
Well, there's that,
the
the
music
concerts,
festival.
then the concerts, and I think there's, the more I've been thinking about this, there's a certain level of people we bring in from outside the valley for the concerts that don't even know there's a parking lot down there.
Right.
And that may
For
get
sure.
more usage if they knew it was there, and whether that would impact that or not, I don't know, but, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a huge, portion of the attendees that don't know it's down there.
But I know the bike, one of the, probably the goals of the bike coalition is to try to find other local merchants to give up some of their parking spaces from Westridge, for example, or
Right, on
especially
concert
when those
nights.
concerts are in the evening when
Yeah,
Westridge
right.
isn't open, or
Yeah,
if
by all
they
means. I
could-
mean,
they could use that back half of that lot
Yeah.
that hardly
That
ever
would be
gets used.
And that would be brilliant,
So I think they
Right.
are trying to reach out
yeah.
to cover the 35 or 36 spaces that are
Yeah.
gonna be taken. We're not talking huge amount of parking spaces
Right.
that are gonna be lost compared to, if I was speaking on behalf of, which I guess I am, the bike coalition, to the benefit of having that bike park. If that was one of the factors,
Oh,
like, hey,
I-
we're just gonna lose 35 spaces, is that going to be the deal breaker?
Right.
On a bike park that's gonna serve however many kids
Countless
every day.
kids. and-
Right, but my only, and I voiced this before, my only concern was, we're losing the 35 spaces, but we're increasing the seating in the bowl,
Right.
250 seats,
Yeah,
which
potentially.
is approximately 50 more cars, roughly.
Sure.
So are we're losing, I don't know how you do the math there, but 85 possible
Yeah.
spots,
I think
you know?
the technical concern is what's in the master plan
Yeah.
for Libby Park, and if
Right.
it specifies how many parking spots should be. I don't know if that was ever resolved, but the last that I was kind of involved in the discussion, that was a question, was reviewing the master plans to see kind of, is this violating something in the master plan? And it's a separate issue, yeah, is it taking away parking that we feel like we need but isn't codified in a master
The
plan?
That's
easiest-
a planning commissioner, our, not planning, our planning director question that she has been asking too.
Okay,
Like, is it in conflict with the Libby Park master plan?
yeah.
But
Yeah,
it
I
just
don't
seems like,
have that answer.
yeah, the perfect answer is if we can get the outside merchant parking, then the spots are, it's kind of a moot point as far as losing parking spots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I know the
I mean,
Bob
I'm a-
Shop has offered theirs up, of course, but what do they have,
Like,
maybe
yeah.
10?
6,
Right.
face,
Yeah.
something like that,
If-
yeah.
if that, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a start.
It's something.
Yeah.
Got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
The
We're up 6.
I think the other thing that's been brought up in the discussions is just that there really isn't any kind of information about where around the city you can park.
Correct.
And so, that would also facilitate like having less parking spots in Lower Libby if people knew kind of where around town they could park to access events.
Oh, yeah, hands
Right,
down. I think
because,
we talked about
you
that
know,
before.
that
Like when you go
farmer's
to LA
market area.
Live,
Mm-hmm.
you go down to Staples Center, they give you a map of, 20 parking lots, but
Even much closer to the Santa Barbara Bowl.
Yeah,
Where
exactly.
they're always directing you to where the parking is. They're using the school parking across the
Yeah.
street, and they're charging,
exactly.
which we don't do, which
Nope.
we should bring that up at some point as well.
Having lived
Oh,
on
yeah.
Blanche for a few years, when there's events going on at Libby, you have no front yard. There's everyone who's from out of town parks in your driveway.
Yeah, and that's it, right.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, that's
Yeah.
not when you're renting your property. You never are faced with during peak season you'll have nowhere to park type of thing.
Well, for sure, I would.
The priority is going to the ticket purchaser over the person who's.
Well, and it's to your point though, it's because we're not directing people to anywhere they should be
Well, I
parking.
think the real question might be a parking facility. I know that's a sore spot, but I think that area is ripe for a parking facility, and to connect that to using South Montgomery as a thoroughfare both to the park and to Main Street in general, and having something kind of that's underground or something where you could gain more parking, especially with the expansion of seating and the new contract with a producer of shows who's quite popular.
Yeah.
That I know going to Santa Barbara Bowl isn't easy to park. I park in people's driveways just much like everyone does in Ojai, so it's a concern that's across the board, and there's parking facilities rampant and trolleys in Santa Barbara, so it's still an issue.
Yeah, it
even with
is. I mean, yeah, every time you
even
go to the
with
bowl, it is.
But
Parking,
even if we just,
impacts and
yeah,
stuff.
just on event days, just to have a sign that said parking 1 block.
Oh,
an
yeah.
arrow that says
Yeah.
to the right or left or
definitely.
wherever you
Yeah.
want to direct them. Because I think at some point, we're going to start bumping up against merchants and residents. that
Even
are-
now,
Yeah,
I work at an electronics shop in town, and there's 2 or 3 hour parking where the old arcade video used to be at Serendipity. Everyone that works in those office buildings parks there all day,
Yeah.
and there's posters, there's signs everywhere, and there's all day parking right across the street, but no one pays attention to that.
Right.
So
It's not enforced though.
there's been enforcement in times because merchants have complained, but it falls, it has its moments.
Yeah, without a doubt, I don't think there's any disagreement that we don't, when I say we, the city, which I'm a part of, and we all are, I guess, in some ways, but we don't do a great job with directing people to available lots.
right.
Even as obvious as the park and ride is, I
Yeah.
don't know that people who come into town for concerts know. That's just a little bit beyond Libby Park. There's a big parking lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, in Montgomery, just go a little bit further and you'll see there's a park and ride there, or another side street just further up ahead that isn't that far of a walk. So
Yeah.
parking.
So we got off topic a
Issue
bit,
in
but the bike proposal is moving along. John's spearheading it, and they're ticking off the stuff on the checklist.
It's a good
Cool.
summary.
All right. Classes and events.
Okay. Our youth basketball program, it's opening day this Saturday. It's pretty awesome. We have approximately 275 participants in that program, and that goes from kindergarten through 8th grade. We have the head coach from Nordhoff, Matt Matt Murphy, and his players actually running our kindergarten through first grade clinic, which is really nice. You know, it's a great mentoring kind of
Yeah.
situation for those players to come and work with those kindergartners and first graders. But as most of you know, we'll be using, it goes all day, like
Yeah.
from 8 in the morning till whatever, 7 in the evening of basketball at both Sarasota and at Matilaha. We use Matilaha's gym. So all the schedules are up on our website, so go catch a basketball game out there.
Is that an improving number, or has that been a pretty consistent number the last few years in that program?
It's lower.
It's lower?
Yeah,
Oh,
it
really?
is lower.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been over 300 sometimes. It hovers around the 300 mark. It's not that much lower, but
Yeah.
it's a little bit lower than what we normally see.
That just may go to the shrinking numbers.
We do
Again.
have a shrinking
Yeah.
youth population in the valley. It's for some reason it's never affected gymnastics at all. I don't know. It's some mystery. It is a low cost program that helps, but I think last session, our last 8-week session had almost that many, like 275
Yeah.
participants in that session of gymnastics. It's probably the highest it's ever been too. So they just
Yeah.
keep
That's great.
bringing in people, and what it comes down to, like anything, it's a testament to the consistency of staffing in the program.
Mm-hmm.
You have consistent staff and a really well-oiled machine, so to speak. People just keep returning and
Yeah.
Yeah, you've pretty much had the same staff in that program for
yeah.
quite a while, right?
Between Vicky, who is the
Mhm.
coordinator of that program, Vicky Hollingsworth, her and Ruben, who's a public, not director of public, head of public works. He and Vicky have been here. They're the two longest term employees. They're both over 25 years with the
Yeah.
city. So
It's amazing.
it makes a big difference when you have that kind of consistency.
Yeah.
So youth basketball again starts this. We do have kids actually that are going to be added. So we do that blind draft now. If you're familiar with the blind draft, all the coaches are there picking. They pick the teams, but they don't know what team they're going to get until after all the teams have been decided on, and then they randomly draw for the
coaches
six.
do?
The coaches do.
So
Then they pick they pick number 3, and they're going to get team 3. So their child isn't on.
that's that was
Here's
my
the next
question was going to be.
So
right?
their child isn't on team 3. So wherever their child is, whatever that team is, they just do a complete
A switch.
switch at the same level. Whatever that level is, they just switch those 2 players across.
Yeah, we do the same
So-
thing.
Yeah, that's a
with
great
Little
idea.
League.
Yeah. And those that registered after the draft or didn't come to player ratings, they will get placed on teams after the first game. So
You could see how they play.
we can see how
Yeah.
balanced the teams are, and those teams that might need a stronger player and that person who was waiting on the wings or who didn't come to the player rating, because we're actually doing another player rating this Sunday for those that didn't we've done 3 player ratings, and we're going to do a 4th for those who didn't make the other 3, so we can find out, okay, after the first game, what kind of player are you, and what team do you need to be placed on, depending on the results of these first games this weekend. So
That's great.
we're really trying to get this balance proper and making sure that, not that coaches would do this, but try to stack their teams.
Yes, coaches
in any
would
way.
absolutely do that.
Yep.
Really?
Oh,
What?
they did it when I was running that league. They'll always do it.
I know, I'm being
No,
sarcastic.
I know you
of
are.
course.
I know you are.
Because I coached
Yeah.
in that league, so I know,
Yeah.
even prior to being employed with the recreation department, so I know how, and we didn't have a blind draft, so it was very contentious.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
even with
Now, are the
third and fourth graders, believe it or not.
are the coaches made to attend a clinic as well? How are the coaches vetted, or are they?
If they have a pulse, they're no. Of course, this is all, and I actually want to take the opportunity to thank those who do volunteer and who do commit to 8, 9, 10, depending on how far you get in the playoffs, Saturdays to come and coach. But most of the time, it's a parent of a child, and typically they do have basketball background and experience. And as you know, all of our volunteers and employees, for that matter, are fingerprinted and cleared before they can work with the kids. But mostly, and we have these, I know it doesn't seem like much, but we bought these card decks, the decks of cards, decks of cards that have basketball drills. This just like a deck of cards, it has 52 drills that coaches can do. So we hand those out to the coaches, and Allison meets with all the coaches. When they do the draft, they also go over, of course, the rules, and they're all handed out those rules, but they go over other etiquette issues. But as far as, training every coach, we just have to rely on getting volunteers who know about the sport.
Perfect. Okay.
One basketball clinic to teach coaches how to coach is probably not going to really make too much of a difference. If I'm being honest, but we are fortunate to get a lot of parents those who do volunteer typically have a background in basketball,
Right.
and they know what they're doing. But every season it's a battle to get that many volunteer coaches to come in and commit to, again, 10 weeks of at least once a week practices, and every Saturday to commit to whatever time frame they have to commit to come and coach their teams. So we thank those coaches. We thank the Nordhoff students for stepping up, and the head coach at Nordhoff for his willingness to take on that K through first grade clinic. Because that's a challenging little group.
He has
right
one
there.
of those. He has one of those. Yeah.
Yes. Maybe we've talked about this in previous Park and Rec Commission meetings, but we do have a drop-in volleyball league that we're offering. Did I bring that flyer with me? I know there's a few things I left back at the rec department, but here it is. So drop-in volleyball, I'll just pass this around. It's Friday nights, 7:30 to 9. We've been averaging about 15 participants.
Not bad.
And it's just like all our other drop-in
Yeah.
programs. They can come and they pay $3 and they're good to go. A lot of them currently are kids who are participating on their respective volleyball teams. I know there's Villanova players that come and Nordhoff players, but it is open to anyone in the public to come out.
Nice.
I don't know if it doesn't include, ages 14 and older. Yeah. So that's been a nice little addition. The pottery, I'll just highlight a couple of the activity guide. We were going to get down to activity guide, but I'll highlight a couple of the things. Our adult pottery is just thriving. I'll try to propose that he offer more classes in addition to the classes that he teaches at Nordhoff all day. But he has 2 adult classes on Monday and Wednesday evenings, and those classes are already full. They don't start till the January 23rd, but the 2 that he's offering, they're full. But we just still have space in our youth classes. So those youth pottery classes are on Mondays from 3:30 to 5. So there's still space available. Those who might be watching, you can get into those youth pottery classes at Nordhoff High School. And that's Mr. Duncan at Nordhoff High School. So that's been a real great change. I heard he's out there serving coffee. He's got a Keurig there, and they drink their coffee and make pottery. As a matter of fact, it's not a rumor, but our previous director is actually registered for I don't know, I won't mention her name, but anyway.
Well, that's good.
She jumped into the pottery class, so the point is, that audience that we hadn't reached out to previously is now finding these types of classes because we're mailing the guide.
Yeah, that's great.
And a lot of those that register, a lot of the people who register for the adult classes, it's online too, which we've been trying to push for, is more online registration. And probably 90% of those that register for those pottery classes were online.
I'm curious, with the, let me see how I phrase this right. With the average age of the Ojai resident, I would assume is on the increase, right? As we're getting to be an older town, right? Less youth, more retired.
Right.
Are you seeing upticks in the adult class enrollments across the board? And is there room there for more classes and?
Yes. Yes, and yes.
Yes, okay.
I'll bring up another side of pottery, our senior fitness program. It went from 4 people to today, I think there was 22 participants. And he's added another time frame. So he was offering the class Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 to 11 a.m. And now he added a Tuesday, Thursday, 4 to 5 or 5 to 6. Anyway, he added an afternoon time to his senior fitness just because there's been such an increase, and it's because the guide's been going out. And same with, we're offering a cooking class for adults, and that is doing better than, number-wise, than the youth classes. And the photography class for adults, which is also seen a decent registration for that. So, and we did lose our speaking of adult classes, I may again have mentioned that we were offering an adult tap class, but that person has decided to open their own studio.
Okay.
Their own dance studio. So we dropped adult tap. Anyway. And I think that's it. Let's see. Oh, movie night. Speaking of successful programs, so this parent movie night out, we've been averaging 50 kids. These movies are usually on the 3rd Friday of the month. Our next one is January 27th, which doesn't really make sense with what I just said, which would probably be the 4th Friday, but anyway. So January 27th is the next movie. It's Ice Age. The most recent one, Ice Age Collision Course, if you're familiar with the Ice Age movies. This was out in 2000, just this year,
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. So that is really such a great thing for parents, and I've been there when parents are dropping their kids off, and they are so appreciative of that night and that opportunity for their kids to go and get pizza and hang out with friends in a movie, and that they get 3 hours of childcare for $10.
Yeah.
Can't beat it.
Pretty good deal.
Can't
Good
beat
deal.
it.
Yeah.
The next playground night?
Good question. Allison, you'll notice she's not here tonight. That's her.
I thought she mentioned it was January, February.
I think she was shooting for March.
It's March?
Oh, by the way, did everyone here receive their activity guide in the mail?
Yes.
Anyone not get an activity guide?
I just moved, so that's probably why.
Well, everyone else got one. Well, in the back of it, it does have listed our open house
Yes.
on the back of the guide, and it also talks about the Libby Under the Lights, but we don't specify a date because we have to coordinate with the fire department,
Police
the
department.
PD for lights and other events that might be happening in Libby. So,
Yeah, I want to
Yet
say
to
she
be
was shooting for
determined.
March, but
Okay.
yeah. Yes, we'll look forward to Allison's announcement at our next meeting of when that is.
cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
The skate
it
park
on-
lights. I think we got the update from Greg.
Greg,
Do you have
give
any
us that
other
update.
insight on that?
I know that the skate park foundation appointed Shane and Sunday as their liaison, so I think that happened in December, but yeah, the update from the city manager was
Awesome.
more information.
So
than
they're-
Yeah,
I've heard.
yeah, I think
Sounds like they're moving along, hopefully into February.
it is moving along. That would be amazing.
That would be
If it's
incredible,
done
but-
by the end of February, I'll be, I guess, pleasantly surprised by
Yeah.
that. But even if it's March, that would be pretty great.
I have confidence they're a
Happy
crafty
kids.
bunch, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, Sunday's leading, so,
Yeah, they have all the
It'll be
conduit
quick.
in, so I think it's just poles and
yeah.
Yeah.
just on the,
Right.
just
Yeah.
in the lights.
Yeah, there's, a few logisticals of,
Mhm.
coin operated and how the lights
Yeah.
will kind of go out and for safety reasons and all
Right.
that. But I think most of those little bugs have been discussed and
Mhm.
Yeah.
won't be that big of an issue.
Activity guide, we touched on that.
Yep.
Commissioner vacancy and assignments.
So we're down one, and we do have
We have
one
one applicant.
applicant, and
So-
we've talked about just even moving forward with that one applicant
Yeah.
and see if that person is the right.
We're gonna try to set up an interview for that person. If it's the right one, we'll see, then make us whole.
Are we allowed to, as commissioners, to put out on our own Facebook pages that there's an opening for a commissioner?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're always
Right.
encouraging, especially you to.
I didn't know where
We
the,
only can get one youth commissioner, so you can't ask me.
Right.
But
But
as
yes.
far as reaching out to, other people
Okay.
that might be
By all
I'll
means.
interested.
put that out.
Sure.
in the-
Yeah.
Throw it out there.
Yeah, we've definitely tried. I mean, it's
Yep.
been in the paper. We've posted it on our website,
It's on the website,
page,
Facebook,
and
yeah.
Just
One-
speaking of commitment and volunteering and commitment.
Yeah.
It's sometimes tough to get
Yeah.
that.
So that's the latest on that. Any other info? The only question I have is pony baseball going?
No, they are not renting our fields because they won't have a program.
Okay. That's what I had heard, and I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if that was 100%.
Which
So will there be a program in Oakview then?
Yeah, Ojai Valley Little League is still going.
Okay, just not the older kids?
Right.
Yeah,
Well, no, they were both the same age groups. They've always just been
Ah.
competing programs. We play down in Oakview, but I just a personal preference. But I know last year was pretty healthy for pony, but I think there was some board member turnover and all that stuff. But so they're down to one league. It sounds like in Ojai Valley.
Well, let me backpedal on that statement because pony baseball, I think they might try to do some sort of club situation. So there
Okay.
may be forming of teams, but they might be more club style.
they're not
and they
renting
might
our
still
fields.
They might still rent our fields, but just for their
Well, girls softball
whatever
should.
club teams they're going to put together.
I know Allison had said girls softball is continuing to grow and always requesting more field time. So
Yes.
that's
Yeah,
I guess good.
and-
Door, open a window.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and quite honestly, even the other league, Oakview,
Ojai Valley
the
Little
Little
League.
League. Oh, yeah, Oakview Little League. It's not Oakview Little
Ojai
League.
Valley.
It's just Ojai Valley. Yeah, they
They ask.
ask for field time.
Yeah, that's always been one of the
So-
problems. Practice time. We were using like Sunset Elementary and any field we could get on.
And
too,
those
so-
are, that's bad out there at sunset. That's
Oh,
like,
it's.
oh, yeah.
So-
Yeah, that's a broken ankle waiting to happen.
But yeah, I mean that's the thing. So
Yeah, it
okay.
won't
I was
be-
just curious.
It won't be a problem to fill field time.
Right. Okay.
Right.
It's even though we lost Pony potentially, or at least their league.
Okay. Any other info from?
None from the.
Any commissioner reports or comments or anything? Yeah.
I have a comment. I haven't been able to get in contact with Allison regarding the youth ad hoc committee and the dates. I've tried calling, and so I haven't been able to stop by Sarasota Park, but I've determined that the first and third Mondays and second Wednesdays are available.
Yeah,
And
to touch on that, I got Maya's email as well, and I forwarded to Allison asking her for schedule, and I haven't heard back. So
Okay.
that was like 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
If you could ask her to
Yeah.
reach out to Maya and I.
Sure.
and we'll put something
So
on the calendar,
you,
'cause,
you,
yeah.
you said first and third
Mondays.
Monday, time?
Probably around 6 because I know a lot of sports are happening right now, and that's around when most of practices end.
And it was in
And-
here, because
and
this was
probably-
available.
This
It was
here.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right, we were in council
Or were you
chambers.
thinking here or the rec, or didn't,
We had talked about doing
you
it
talked
here.
about here?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'll ask Allison to reach out to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I had too. I stole mine.
So you're wondering.
Good work. Anybody else have anything? No? We lost,
Well,
Mayor
it says
Johnston.
it says Councilmember Haney on here, but clearly it's Mayor.
yeah, we
Maybe
lost.
that's why he left.
we
I
lost.
think we were dragging.
Yeah, we lost
Maybe.
Mayor Johnston.
Maybe
Next-
that's
next
why he
time.
left. He said Councilmember Haney. He probably thought, what am I doing here?
No,
No.
I think he saw us getting wildly off track.
Yes. So we will touch base with him hopefully next time.
Okay.
Future meetings and agendas, February 2nd, 6 o'clock it looks like. Agenda items, we have the CIP, obviously, he gave it to us tonight, so if everybody could kind of go back, review our previous notes, and then obviously everything he's got planned, make sure we're all on the same page. Or if there's anything else we want to throw in there and take something out of. The CPR, first aid requirements is for March. Sarasota,
Got the
Oh, wait,
master plan
sorry.
review.
Master plan
Run
review.
that by me again. CPR,
CPR is March.
right. Okay, what was the next? Sorry. Go ahead.
The Sarasota, the CIP's already on there.
Right,
for February.
Sarasota Master.
Sarasota master plan.
Mm-hmm. Fee schedule.
Any feedback on the fee schedule? I would just include that
Just
as
put
a
it
staff report.
Discussion, staff report?
Yeah,
Okay,
because we already discussed it.
Sure.
But it's
Sure.
just some,
yeah, I still think in that regard, it's got a way to go.
anybody have anything else they want to add on there? No? Okay. That's it. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good meeting.